Kia ora and welcome to another after action report for this time Kalina in Southern Imperial Diplomacy. Which version is this, Marley?
V3.
V3. So it's Southern Imperial Diplomacy version 3 and Imperial Diplomacy subvariant by Dander P20. This round, similar to our last video we did, I was playing in a trio with myself, Marley and Strawberry. Strawberry unfortunately couldn't be here today, so it'll just be me and Marley doing the after action report for this one. To start off with, where is Kalina? Kalina's, well, if you can see here, it's in the northeastern South America. I know I just said a lot of compass directions there that probably wasn't very helpful. But yeah, Marley, what would you describe Kalina as?
As far as the country's description would go, it's not too much to look at. Historically speaking, Kalina wasn't super big, and they didn't last super long after the Europeans decided to bring these cool new diseases over. But in terms of game position, it's quite an interesting position to find ourselves in. We have some very uncomfortable and ominous neighbors hanging around, and our directions for expansion are both somewhat restricted and not too bad.
Yeah, we're kind of in a weird spot where we're kind of surrounded by colonials, and the only other option is to go into Amara in the interior, and it's a little constricting. But we also started with 4 dots. Nothing to sniff at.
It helps that all the colonials are hostile to each other as well.
Yes.
So if you can be sneaky enough, you can reduce the pressure on yourself quite a lot.
And we can definitely Kalina's. I think one of Kalina's main strengths is that it is able to put a lot of pressure on the Caribbean through just kind of existing, as it can threaten Ayataya's colony, France's colony, England's colony, etc. Going into our game, I think our game plan sort of was, for at least year 1, was we just wanted the clean double, if I remember correctly. We just wanted clean double.
Yes, in year 1, our initial goal was simply we need to double, and additionally we wanted to make sure that the Netherlands did not get into Bellum. Our double was pretty well secured, was good news for us.
Yeah, I
think it maintained that.
Yeah, it was definitely a great start. I mean, in terms of our planned kind of 4 dots, it was Barcelos in the west, Altamira and Bellum, and then we actually spent a lot of time talking about where this 4th dot is, whether we wanted to have a go at Manaus, whether we wanted to go to Caracas, but we
talked about Yanomami and Jaipur as well.
Yeah, and we eventually decided on doing a bit more of a hostile action, which was taking the Yanomami dot here, which is normally a Spanish dot, but we realized that we could just take it and they couldn't stop us.
We can put ourselves in a position to force it so that they have no reason to even try to step into it.
Yeah. And so then the spring turn began, which we'll just move to here now. And everything seemed sort of to go to plan. We told Spain prior to spring moves that we were
moving into Orinoco and Barcelos so that we could force Yanomami. We told them that and basically said, you should just move to Cardigan. Yeah, it will save you a turn. You won't have to be forced out of Yanomami by us. We can maintain it as a DMZ. We made all sorts of statements. Basically, the summary was, we are forcing Yanomami. There is no way you can stop this. You should go somewhere else. We're telling you this because we would like to work with you.
Yeah, I think we sort of, because we had a sort of a thing where we were all voting together on this thing. And I think we said, that my proposal for going somewhere else had failed and that we were going to just take Yanomami anyway. In the end, Spain was pretty gracious and just went, all right. They just
they held on this turn, which was, I guess, checking to see if we were lying.
I think it was that, and also I think it might have been also due to negotiations with France, not to threaten France.
To not move into Cardigan, yeah.
I mean, otherwise, you will see on the map that there is like a weird line from Natal to Mid Atlantic Ocean. This was the first Southern Imperial diplomacy game I believe to be played with bots, with bot integration. So some of the instead of it being a hand drawn map, everything's just a little bit finicky for the first couple of years, but it does get fixed.
Well, it gets fixed slowly, and a couple of issues pop up, but they're also fixed. So most errors that you see on the map will either disappear because they were fixed, or will disappear because when they were spotted, someone would go in and manually fix it and then repost the map with the corrections, and that's what we would be using.
Yeah, I don't really think we have that many like map errors where like orders really messed up. In terms of, I think how we're going to cover it, we're going to be focusing a lot on just Kalina itself, and we probably won't talk as much about how the rest of the world went. I might do that later on with a conversation with Danda, who was playing Tehuelche. Actually, on this note, we should probably talk about who the other players were who were surrounding us. So
Yes,
in Tehuelche, the Southern American regional player, was played by Danda, who is the creator of Southern Imperial Diplomacy. Guarani, which is this. What do you describe the Guarani color as? Turquoise?
I think turquoise.
Yeah. This they're a little regional in the south. They were played by Jesna. They probably didn't have. They probably had the worst game I think of everyone.
It was awful. Right up there next to Amara's terrible game.
Amara. There were two players who ran Amara. Both of them lovely people. No, not really. I unfortunately don't have their names to hand. Portugal was originally, I believe, supposed to be played as a trio or a duo. Just right. If I remember correctly. But it ended up mainly being played by a player called Mapmaker, who
had a duo of Haru
with a duo of Haru, but they'll come in. I think, but Haru was not until quite late. I think until about 1648. I think.
Yes, just before you continue, I'd like to mention that the Amara initial player was Yolki Goblin, and was later subbed in by Salted Pork.
There we go. The Spanish player was Fitz. I'm not sure if they played in V2. I could be wrong, but they played in V3, and they were again quite a lovely person to talk to. France was played by Fireborn. Who was France in V2? Was Fireborn in V2? I'm not entirely sure. But Fireborn's played. We played quite a couple of games with France. France was Fallen. I apologize. And we played quite a few games with Fallen before, so they were sort of a known quantity. But they definitely had their own hijinks. England was played by Cherry. Cherry. What was? I'm sorry, I don't have Cherry's. What was Cherry in V2? I'm pretty sure Cherry played V2. Cherry was Tehuelche in V2. So I don't really think. Yeah, we talked to him a little bit in V2, but nothing too crazy. And the Netherlands played once again by Fireborn. Once again, probably our biggest nemesis the entire game. I think it's safe to say.
He had the temporary sub as well
right.
At one point called Burgi, who still has the role, but that never got removed from him, which is very funny, but I just decided not to mention it.
Yeah, fair enough. And then finally, up in the Caribbean, we have Ayataya, who was played by Zinlin. Very, very strong player, as you'll soon see. But generally, for most of the map, I think unless there's something we really want to highlight, I don't really know if we're going to talk most about the rest of the map, because...
I think for the most part, if we are talking about the rest of the map, it'll be because of the players next to us. For example, if an odd England disband occurs, we might look in the rest of the map and go, this is why they did it.
Yeah. And there's some diplomatic plays that get played later on. For one thing to note, Spain did a lot. Spain did a couple of, or at least they did 2 holds in spring, which is not very normal. They held Canaries, and they held Bogota here. Canaries,
I'm not sure if the Canaries was an error or not on their part,
right.
But it was an interesting decision.
I think it was might have been negotiation with Portugal. I think because the Marrakesh, Rabat, Tangier thing with Ottomans is very spicy, and Azores can go to get Bay, and Arguin can go to Regibate. So it was kind of like they probably were just a bit nervous about anything happening.
I think the dot makes up for it though, especially because it's a pre-core.
Yeah. Other than that, the newest really addition to V3, which was, I guess it is actually. I mean, apart from Bornu, which was the Strait of the Dutch colony in Arabia.
Almost.
Or Persia, I should probably say.
Yes.
And yeah, not a bounce in Strait of Hormuz. That will have some complications later down the line, I think, for Fallen, for 5-1. Sorry, why did we play with? I'm just looking now when I can count 1, 2. I'm counting like 4 different people we played with, who were all
hostile,
who were all named F.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That wasn't our choice though.
No, it wasn't.
We didn't pick their usernames. We just suffered for it.
Otherwise, in terms of looking at first year spring moves, we have Dutch moved into J. That was fine with us. We were going to support them to Nokugo.
Yes.
That's what we agreed on. They bounced Arakaju, which is just a pretty basic one here, where Salvador and Recife bounce Arakaju, then Salvador goes to Minas Gerais. Natal jumped up to Mal 5, assumingly to go to Cabo Verde. It's definitely interesting because now that there's the Azores up in northwest
Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, there's kind of this weird, or northeast, I guess, Atlantic Ocean. Cabo Verde used to be this, like, it was the Netherlands dot, and now it's kind of more Portugal's, I have to say. So that brings its own complications. Aymara moves pretty stock standard, nothing too crazy. Spain did go Shipibo instead of bouncing Cusco, but
that was something that we had concerns about because when we saw that, our first thought was, oh, they're working with Aymara.
Yeah.
Which was a massive red flag because in the previous game, if I'm not mistaken, Aymara kind of manhandled everyone.
Yes, Aymara kind of a bit scary, but they did get a nerf in between, so here we go. Well, I don't really know if they got really a nerf. It's more like everyone else around them got a buff, I think is probably more accurate. And then two power chain moves were pretty stock standard. It is Fleet Gaming for Dander, with a pretty obvious setup for Chono getting supported into Renkolche. So a pretty anti-Aymara opening there. Going up to, I don't really know if we need to talk about the steps in between spring and fall.
There was
for
a
us.
couple of things you didn't mention that we probably should, which was the Caribbean moves, which were atrocious.
Oh, was this the first? This was the first. What the fuck? I think
this was the first. What the actual fuck is this? And there was like 3 of them at once or something like that. So the first thing that we were confused by was Antigua did not bounce Barbados in Martinique. That is apparently a standard thing to do.
Yeah.
And if it had happened, we might have been a lot better off. Because that gave Ayutthaya a much stronger hold and start immediately, which helped to keep us out for a lot longer. On top of that, the St. Martin, so the Netherlands and England didn't get anything out of the Caribbean in that first turn and didn't get any movement. Another funny one was the Bay of Panama bounce, which was a legendary thing that did not happen only once.
Because normally Panama will go to Bay of Panama and then Belize goes to Yukon Channel and they just kind of vibe. Like, nothing really happens. Everyone just goes into the thing. I think sometimes Panama will go to Colon Ridge and go up to Galapagos in this case.
It could happen, yeah.
Just referring back to that Martinique bounce, generally what happens there is Antigua bounces Martinique, and then Barbados will then go to New Caledonia or Tobago, and then Antigua takes Martinique. as a sort of like they work that out. The issue here is Antigua has to sort of choose between bouncing St. Kitts and Martinique, and so in Ayataya's case, it just is genuinely just a better option for them to just always tap Martinique, because if they don't get bounced, oh no, I'm in Martinique. Like, especially if Kalina isn't moving Guyana Current.
Which we didn't do because we were too worried about Fireborn.
Yeah, we were really wanting to get into that Bellum dot, I think, and just get that early positioning.
It's because South Sebastian was too close to us, and Bellum was like 1 dot away. It's just the only thing between us, so we wanted to secure it and have some sort of buffer between us and him, so that if he made any moves, we would have time to react.
Definitely an advantage for Barbados is, as long as they cover Martinique, their core cannot be taken year one.
Yeah, and that was a big problem. I think most of the game, we were looking at Barbados and just wishing it wasn't there.
It's kind of the opposite of it's the opposite of how V2 went, I think. Right, going up to fall moves. I mean, let's just quickly do a bit of the rest of the world before we come back. Pretty stock standard Tawache in France, openings in Australia. We had a Dutch rush for Arche here, which makes sense. It's an extra little dot for them. So it puts them definitely in more contention with Ayataya. It was kind of everyone was chill in East Asia.
There was the cause.
Yeah, it was
3 cores happened in
3 cores tried to
Asia
happen.
Region. It was very funny. It drove Strawberry absolutely mad.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean they're not really cores; they're just holds. We saw the Dutch. I mean, this was kind of a bit of a concern, I think, to Fireborn, was seeing Mughals and Portugal work together against them in Bandar Abbas, especially with the Ottoman army moving from Baghdad to Riyadh. Other than that, Arabia looking pretty kind of chill. Nothing too crazy going on there. Everyone sort of gets into the dots. In Africa though, Ottomans, there's a weird double bounce situation in Walia that then actually leads to Ottomans getting Walia. I'm probably horrendously Wadai, which leads to the Ottomans getting in because of a crazy Abyssinian tap there. Bornu definitely was viewed as one of the regions to beat here. It's pretty scary, frankly. It's got a lot of good positioning, and there's always a weird triangle between Ottoman, Bornu, and Abyssinia where 2 out of the 3 will kill the other one, and it's kind of you just really got to hope your first year goes well. Yeah. We have some anti-Bornu moves by the Dutch here. Portugal supporting Kamota Ouagadougou. I mean, honestly, it would have been fun to see a Kamo move to Kindia, I think. I think the game probably would have changed quite a lot if Portugal didn't have their WAF colonies.
Portugal got really strong because their early game just was so powerful. Portugal was on the way to solo ending this game within, 5 years of the game starting.
And then they sort of dropped off.
Well, they subbed out and then were replaced by... Oh, sorry,
which one, sorry?
This was...
Was this Portugal?
The first Portugal player.
Was sorry, I didn't know there was a Portugal before Mapmaker. Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry,
McMoney.
McMoney. I apologize. Yes, sorry. McMoney was...
McMoney was an absolute monster on this field.
Yes.
He dominated the entire board and then just left. Refused to elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, it's a flex, but yeah. The original Portuguese player was really, really, really strong. Up in Arabia, nothing really happens. Ottomans got Rabat for free, which is probably something that Spain regretted later on. And other than that, everything was pretty normal. Going up to the Caribbean, we see once again the Bay of Panama get tapped. We were. I mean, it kind of makes sense that they were going to do it again, kinda, because you don't want the English there as Spain, and England doesn't really want Spain there. But it all seemed a little silly to us.
That's the way they went about it. And also, Antigua tapping Martinique again at this
Hmm.
point was completely pointless. It
Um,
was too late.
and this really, I think, because it just meant that both Spain and England in that region just lost a gained dot, which
Yeah,
really made them a lot more weaker. Compounding that, England loses um, another doesn't get another dot because they tap a Martinique. I believe they were lied to, and IU said they were going to move out.
most likely. It's
Yeah,
very funny because it meant that they were still in Antigua and the end of the four moves. And even funnier than that, if you look up a little bit, they stepped out of Bermuda into the Gulf Stream, and then on the four moves, they stepped from the Gulf Stream
yeah,
back into Bermuda.
I,
So they literally didn't move.
yeah. I think our understanding was that there was a Portuguese threat. I think they were worried about, or maybe the Dutch. There was something going on there. Um, England didn't have a great first year. It's safe to say.
Understatement.
For France, Forlan did a little misorder and misordered Mona Passage to Antilles Current, thinking Antilles Current was Saint Domingo. Um, that was, I think, probably the only other kind of sort of drama-filled part of the Caribbean where it was a oopsie. France misses out on another dot. Fireborn
Yeah.
happily takes Puerto Rico here. France takes Guadalupe. Going to the south, we see a pretty stock standard bounce. Buenos Aires beat Blanca. We see a support of we see Spain and Tehuelche working together against Aymara, which was just a. I mean, we were happy to see it.
We were, we were glad to see that for sure.
We were very worried we were going to get dumpstered by Aymara and Spain working together.
It also helped that it was Spain supporting Tehuelche because Tehuelche we definitely had plans to work with, whereas Spain was someone that we didn't want to get any stronger.
Yeah, other than that, Tehuelche gets supported into Rancolche. Guarani is supporting Portugal up to Campo, and it takes Portugal. Guarani gets a double. Portugal also gets their double with their dots in South America. Now, this was the first sign of something going wrong with the Dutch, and that was that J bounces Palmas with no Kugo. When we talked to Fireborn said that Portugal had promised them support and that they don't trust us since their last
Portugal
game.
told them that we were lying as well.
Yes, which is ironic.
Which was very funny because
yeah.
This is too early.
And then Portugal didn't even support them, which was even funnier.
And even despite that, later on, they just stick with Portugal anyway. Very rude.
Very, very rude. At the start
Regardless, we did get into Bellum with that.
Yeah. At the start of the game, we are just trying to be good friends to the Netherlands. And yeah.
We wanted as many friends as possible and as few enemies as possible, but we needed at least one enemy because we needed a direction to go.
And you might be looking at this and going, why has Kalina not moved to Yanomami? And we realised something. Spain has to decide to either take Cartagena and gain a dot, or tap Yanomami and expect to be forced out. And so we decided, well, we can just make Barcelos a captured dot then, and just get a free dot.
So with this move, we don't lose anything. Either we gain Caracas and Yanomami, or we gain Caracas and Barcelos. And either way, we're gaining a +2.
And if France bounces us out of Caracas, oh no, France then doesn't have a build. Evo. Yeah, like it kind of works out for us. And that was just a nice, good little captured dot moment for us. Moving on.
I was uncomfortable that Spain moved into Japura, though. That was a big.
Yeah, we were a little worried about that. But at the same time, we were like, because we were like, why did Aymara not tap Lima here? But,
yeah, this was basically when we were basically convinced that Spain and Aymara were working together because Cusco decided not to tap Lima and Shipibo just walked away from the Aymara in front and into Japura against us.
Moving on to builds. We had 4 builds, and we decided to do a pretty standard 2 armies, 2 fleets. Nothing really that crazy. We wanted... This year was the year where we were like, we need to claim bits of the Caribbean. After playing V2 as Ayutthaya, we went, if we don't get into the Caribbean, we're not going to get anything. basically.
We're going to struggle for dots.
We're going to struggle heavily. And so we decided we're going to push quite heavily. Other than that, France built a fleet. I mean, it's to be expected, it's a Caribbean, but we really saw that as a sort of, they were kind of going to step away from the North Coast. Our press with Fallen at that time, with a French player, wasn't that great.
It was pretty limited at best, even from the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Later on, we just didn't communicate.
I reread press before doing this, AAR, and at the start, kind of, we were talking about where we wanted to see ourselves, because we actually did want to work with France here over.
We did, yes. We
over
really
the other colonials.
Yes.
And France said, "Oh, we want the North Coast," and we went, "No, that's not really how it works. We kind of need the North Coast to win." And that sort of set off some issues. Other than that, we were happy to see a fleet build in Quito. I mean, look, Spain didn't build an army in Bogota. We were Bogota.
We were very confused about that, but they did build a fleet in Mexico and one in St. Augustine.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was trusting. I think for us, we kind of viewed it as the more concerned about Aymara and Tehuelche than us, especially as kind of we'd been far more honest with them.
We hadn't lied to Spain at all at this point. Everything we said we would do, we had done.
Yes.
Technically, there was some things we hadn't said, but everything that we ever said to Spain was absolutely true.
Yes.
It was very, very strange and very, very funny, because for like 5 years, we don't lie to Spain once, but we do take a lot of their dots.
Yeah. I mean, look, we never really lied to Spain. We just sort of ask for their dots, and you'll see the next one here. I think we kind of
asking as it was saying.
We kind of claim Manaus, I think. Let me kind of claim Manaus here, and go. We're kind of taking it. Too bad.
Yeah.
The Dutch build of an army in South Sebastio. I mean, the Dutch were going to build. We were obviously, an army's pretty aggressive against us, and it just didn't really bode well. But at the same time, it also meant that we had fleet majority over St. Marcos Bay, which we were more happy about.
We were pretty happy with that, because having the Dutch in the St. Marcos Bay area would have just been the worst thing that could possibly have happened. It would have collapsed us, basically.
Yes. Looking to moves, let's do around the world once again. I should probably actually say, our amount of supply centers we needed to take was 32. We started off with 4. It's quite a lot. Quite a lot to go. In theory, if we had doubled again this year, we would have been halfway there. That would have been quite funny. Sadly, not that easy.
No, not at all. The moves in Australia show an interesting picture to us of either miscommunication or misinformation, both of which were good for us. Dander managed to get quite a lot of movement through Australia. He got his pre-core in Northern Australia. Clearly, something was supposed to be happening with France and Portugal. France tried to support
someone
them.
Lied.
Someone lied.
Clearly, I think in this case it was Portugal.
Yeah. Definitely. There was a core in Flores.
Which is always a little bit of a concern to a Portuguese player, but I mean, it's also to be expected.
I mean, everyone seemed to like coring as just something to do in this game. There was cores going on in Barmo, in Ava. There was cores in Hyderabad. There was cores over in Keshem as well. I think there was a core in Africa. Maybe not.
This was definitely early Spanish Netherlands aggression though, compared to other games. Where Spain and Netherlands
was quite
went straight off at each other instead of going for other people. Otherwise,
whilst they were fighting though, the Portuguese got into Hanoi. That was very funny.
Very, very funny. Well, I mean, it probably could have been stopped if people hadn't called.
Yes.
Looking at India, nothing super exciting apart from Portugal doing the craziest snipe into Madurai, which I thought was brilliant.
That was amazing, yeah.
Where it basically covers their own dots which is just which is just wow.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Looking up in Bandar Abbas in Persia, um, we have the Netherlands and Portugal now working together, but also not together. Things are very confusing.
Portugal is quite cleanly pushing the Netherlands away and towards, or into danger, I should say. They support the Turks into the Persian Gulf to pressure Keshim and Bandar Abbas, and just decide to leave. They open up Muscat so that if they need to build there, they can. I don't know how they got the support from the Netherlands, but apparently the McMahon was a man with a silver tongue.
Yes. Going down to other moves here, we see. I think it's pretty clear that we saw the Ottomans and Abyssinia work together, and this once again just continued with Abyssinia and Bornu basically just fighting each other while Ottomans just kind of grab dots everywhere else. Ajuran also suffered here. Yeah, not great for them. Not great for them getting bounced out and getting forced out of the Gulf of Tidora. The Gulf of Tidora, I think Gulf of Tidora, similar to Natuna Sea, is one of those places where if you don't have a fleet there and you have a court and you have a supply center there, it's not great. It's not great to be. Congo Basin, not occupied this year. And then otherwise, we see some Dutch-French animosities going on.
That was awesome.
Yeah, we're very happy to see this.
Yeah. The Portugal snipe they just walked into Congo here. Congo took every step away from Portugal, and Portugal just walked straight in.
Yeah, probably the safest Portuguese English moves in West Africa with the bounce of Camo, and one goes to Mali, one goes to K. I assume it was then planned that Portugal would support K to Timbuktu, would be my guess. Apart from that, the Dutch moves into Asia, Asia, I think is probably how you would pronounce it. And we have Ayutthaya going crazy, move into Gaba, which was...
That was awesome. That was
awesome
very
to
cool.
see, but we just were a bit shocked, especially with France full storming ahead into Fulani and Tukalor.
Many moves were befuddling early game, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was weird because France just didn't build a fleet and just decided not to contest the fleet area, which was interesting. Moving northwards, we see Portugal go straight north up into Spain, while Rabat supports Portugal and Spain bounces out of Tugurt Bay. To the west, let's talk about the South America. I don't know if this was a Guarani stab, or what the situation was. But I'm
not sure what they were aiming to achieve with the moves into Puelche and Blanca at the same time.
I think it was maybe to stop, just in case they did some weird supports or something. Probably just who knows actually.
I can't imagine what they were trying to achieve. The only result would be a bounce.
Apart from that, Guarani tries to push forward straight into the Aymarian heart of Iorio, which was lovely to see. Pretty quiet Portuguese moves. They put a core on Aracaju, probably just signal that they're chilling out. We'd kind of hoped they were going to do a tap on Recife here.
We hoped they were going to tap Recife for like the next 3 years, and they didn't.
Probably the next 7 actually.
Yeah.
If we look, we'll talk about the Dutch moves in a second. Looking westwards, we see a bounce on Cuzco and bounces in the Gulf of Guayaquil. Those were to kind of be expected, and we just kind of they were just eh.
Yeah.
Moving north, Belize moved up to Yucatan, and Spain moved to Honduras.
They finally gave up on the Bay of Panama bounce. Funny, but
yeah. Cartagena cause, which did make us slightly concerned that we're going to have a Spanish-French alliance here. I mean, that was...
Yeah.
But apart from that, we bounced New Courland and we bounced Ghana Current. if I remember correctly, I think the New Courland bounce was agreed.
Yes, the New Courland bounce was an
The
agreed
Guiana
upon
current
move.
wasn't. If I'm
No, the Guiana current was not an agreed move. The St. Marcos Bay bounce that we managed was an excellent move for us, though.
yes,
That was a double bounce with 1 unit, 2 for 1.
It was a weird thing with Fireborn because we went, look, we'll support you in Anoka Go. It's a free dot. You can then push on Palmas. Go for you. And instead, Fireborn just fully goes into us in Altamira.
We offered a lot of hands to a lot of people, and everyone just smacked them away.
Yeah.
We end up with a lot of enemies, but not because we wanted them.
No. We were genuinely, I think, for probably the first
we were
third of the game,
actively
just
trying
trying
to
to
work
work
with
with people. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole game we were actually trying to work with people, and everyone hated us. It was very strange.
Yeah, not sure if our press pissed them off or what happened.
I don't know. Either way, if we go back to slightly more north, I see Antigua held yet again.
Yeah.
Guadalupe was supported.
They couldn't really do anything, could
Puerto
they?
Rico. That was a pretty big thing.
Yeah, it was a weird thing where the Dutch supported themselves into St. Kitts. I'm not sure why. Who knows? Other than that, Bermuda finally left the Gulf Stream again. Another news. Or Bermuda got to Gulf Stream.
Yes, so it's still made absolutely no progress. Went from Bermuda to Gulf Stream to Bermuda to Gulf Stream.
Yeah. All right, let's look at spring retreats. I think we were actually probably one of the only... we might have actually been the only retreat phase.
I think we were the only retreat.
Apart from the Dutch disbanding Puerto Rico. Actually, no. Yes. I don't actually know. Was that actually
There was
that was a map error. My apologies. I don't think it was actually a forced disband because I actually got to St. Kitts.
I can check that if you want.
Let's just see if that fleet reappears.
Oh, hang on. I think it was the movement was.
Oh, there was some
from St. Kitts, wasn't it? Or I don't. Oh,
Puerto Rico. Who knows? Anyway, that
part was weird.
We have to decide between going to Santorum or Makushi, and in this case, we just go Makushi. We just go. Look, we're gonna play it safe. We're gonna just keep.
We thought it would be really funny to move into Santorum, but it was just too risky.
It would be too anti-Aymara at this point, and wouldn't really guarantee us stops.
Yeah.
What you might see though is the Spanish is in Manaus, and they've left Japura open.
You know what that means.
And you know what that means. And if we go to full moves, we might as well skip ahead. The retreats, we just retreat into Makushi here. Going into full moves, let's start off at the rest of the world. Nothing super interesting. It is literally just a Portugal. I think Portugal gets into New Holland here.
Portugal is in New Holland with support from Tehran.
There is can I just say, crazy Southern Ocean tap on the Spanish South Pacific Ocean, meaning that Wake Island survives.
Oh yeah,
crazy maneuver, crazy guess. Well done, well done, Fireborn for that crazy defense. Otherwise, we see Ava and Barmo core again, which, if they don't want to fight, they don't want to fight. That's chill.
That drove Strawberry mad, though. He was actually losing his mind.
Which is it's ironic because if they had if Barmo had gone Huguang and then Ava had gone Yan'an, they could have just collapsed Portugal there. Paracel Islands moved back to Phan Rang. I think they did. I think they were worried. I think they thought that they were going to get the force in Hanoi, and they didn't want to
leave a retreat open.
Which is funny because again, if Ava had gone Yan'an, they could have covered Phan Rang with Lansang. Well, things to know in the future. Other than that, nothing really super interesting is happening in the Pacific. I don't know why Fireborn did a move from Banjarmasin to Cotabato. Don't know what was going on there.
Maybe he thought you could.
And maybe he thought you could. Yeah, wasn't great positioning for the Dutch. Looking westwards into India, look, the slap fight that's going on in India continues. Portugal betrays Mughals and takes Ahmedabad, which was, well, frankly,
Portugal
brilliant.
also supports England into Pondicherry, which was awesome.
And then also supports the Ottomans against the Dutch, again, kind of awesome.
Hell yeah.
Not sure how Kolkata got into Orissa, but I assume they were like, we'll bounce, and then they just moved to Orissa. England, not really having a good game at this point. Looking west into Arabia. I know we did say that we weren't going to talk about the rest of the map. This is kind of fun looking at the rest of it.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of taps. Ottoman's getting into Mara here. We have wackiness where it's like, if I'm correct, Ottomans were supporting Mara out. Yeah.
And themselves in, yeah.
Kind of wacky there. Weird that Wasangli just leaves. Okay.
I'm not sure what their goal was there.
Yeah, not really sure what Ageron's goal this entire game was. Portugal doesn't go anti-France and just goes to Zanzibar instead. Fair enough. At this point, it's really odd because Portugal was kind of just taking Congo dots.
Portugal is just taking dots from everyone and no one seems to be doing anything about it. It's really weird, but it is making them exceedingly strong. I think at this point in the game, Portugal is halfway to their victory condition.
Yeah, they are. They're growing pretty rapidly. Up in, I mean, once again, it's a bloodbath up in northeastern Africa, with Ottomans stabbing Abyssinia and taking Hawara. Crazy to see. Ottomans, they take Tangier literally for free. They took Ulada literally for free. Spain lose Canaries, which was pretty brutal.
It was very funny though. I thought that it was deserved from their, because they didn't move in the first turns. They just lost the grasp that they could have had. They were lacking dots because they couldn't. They didn't grab Marrakesh immediately and then step into Rabat. They didn't have any pocket dots. They didn't have extra grasp. The enemy were a lot closer than they should have been because they hadn't made any early moves. It was really just an unfortunate scenario for Spain, but
yeah. I mean, look, Kaya, like the English Kaya dot next to Ouagadougou, if it had tapped Kano here, probably would have gone crazy. Sadly, it just bounces out Timbuktu. France has to fall back to St. Louis or St. Louis, I guess, because
this was a crazy call from France, by the way.
Yeah, instead of doing a force on an easy take on K's, they defend their own core.
They force move themselves back to St. Louis and successfully bounce. It was crazy call. It was awesome.
Especially because they just have so many open dots along the area.
That was a massive defense.
Would have been crazy if the Dutch had tapped Arguin here, but sadly not to be. Looking up to the Caribbean, Belize gets taken. In good news, for Spain. Spain taps Mexico City to cover themselves against Gulf of Mexico, but that also just leads to Gulf of Mexico tapping St. Augustine. However,
not Spain. England loses the Bahamas.
And you might notice that Jamaica is still not taken. It will be like this for a little while. No one just seems to want to take it. It's kind of wacky.
Antigua holds again, in other news, so it still hasn't moved. 1643 4 moves, Antigua hasn't moved.
Or has tried to move, hasn't left yet.
Yes.
The Dutch, you'll notice the Dutch fleet is back in St. Kitts. It seems to try to supporting the Ayutthaya and just ends up getting nothing, like it's just a nothing burger.
That Ayutthaya move into Tobago was basically the end for us. That was just...
Yeah, it definitely stymied our progress, but we also kind of knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen. The problem was that we had wanted to come to an agreement with Ayutthaya early on to get past them, basically. We wanted into the Caribbean, and Ayutthaya wanted absolutely none of that.
Yeah, I mean, looking elsewhere, let's just look. Southern America, nothing super interesting. It's just safe taps by Tehuelche and Guarani. Tehuelche going forces themselves into Chapaya with a good tap from Rapa Nui. Guarani with the most craziest move doesn't go for a dot and just jumps straight into Guayaquil, which is Well,
Hilarious. It was an
hilarious.
amazing move.
Yeah, fantastic move by them. Um, Elsewhere, Lima taps Cuzco, Akiri moves into Shibibo. Nothing super interesting there. For us, so I'm trying to remember what exactly we told Spain here. I remember that we sort of lied
We
about taking Manaus, if I remember correctly.
we came
Or we told them that
to
we'd force it, I think, actually.
no, yeah, we told them that we were going to force Manaus and that they should cover themselves from a Bara, and we said we were going to do a Carib support Barcelos into Manaus,
Yeah.
and Yanomami would backfill so we could fulfill the DMZ requirement that we had with them, which was supposed to be Yanomami's the DMZ, we're not supposed to be in there. And that was the way we said we were going to fulfill it. We said we were going to go into Manaus from Barcelos, and Yanomami would backfill Barcelos, so we could have our DMC, and we would get Manaus back. What actually happened was we just walked into Manaus because Spain trusted us. We walked out of Yanomami and into Barcelos, securing both Barcelos and Manaus. And we went for Altamira and stepped out of Belém and into St. Marcos Bay. I think the reasoning behind that was that we could just force it back if we needed
Yeah,
to.
I think it was just more that we just wanted would rather. I know. I think we did that because to bounce out Natal, I think was the idea.
Right. We had to weigh up between losing Belém or losing St. Marcos Bay, and we decided losing St. Marcos was a bigger problem.
Yeah, just because the Dutch fleet there can just put so much more pressure on our cause.
Entire coastline. They could step straight into Rikuyen and then into Arawak. Like there was just too big of a risk.
Thankfully, our move on Altamira was saved by the fact that Fireborn forgot that you can't support hold attack, and we were just able to just kind of steal the dot for free.
We just stepped in. It was huge.
That was huge.
That was very big for us.
That was crazy. Apart from that, I think we're good to move on to
The Cartagena core continued in that one.
Yes,
They
1640.
full cored it, which was gross.
1643 builds. So we had 2 builds here.
Oh, you skipped the retreat, but there was only Altamira skipping into Santorum and Bahamas retreat.
We had 2
else.
builds here.
There was a few retreats.
And we decided we were going to build 2 armies instead of 2 fleets. I think there was actually a bit of discussion about this. And
our builds were heavily discussed at this point, I think.
Because this was the point where I think we decided we were going to stab Spain, like full on, like go into.
Yes, we were thinking we're going to have a peace deal of some sort with Fallen, and then we're going to walk into full combat with Spain because the position that Spain found themselves in was just very untenable, and we weren't likely to make progress in the other directions.
Yeah, as soon as we knew that Ayatai was going to get a build in Barbados, it was kind of like, well, that's a slow going.
That's not an option anymore.
Antigua disband.
This was crazy, yeah.
We were just like, I mean, it sort of makes sense, but like at the same time, probably a bit of regret from Cherry nowadays, I think, about that move.
It was a move that Cherry made because of the losses they had taken in other provinces, and as far as they were concerned, Antigua was too
dead in the
isolated
water,
to hold
I guess.
on to. It wasn't worth holding on to, so they disbanded Antigua and thought, well, if I lose it, I lose it, you know?
I mean, it does have this sort of weird issue now where the only English core is Bermuda, which makes them very vulnerable in the area. Guadalupe and Barbados fleet build, nothing too exciting there. Dutch built a fleet in Natal. That made sense, but then they didn't build... I don't know how many builds they had this year. I would have to go back and have a look. But they didn't build São Sebastião. I think we had agreed at that point, like, we would retake Belém and then we'd peace out.
Yes.
We had and in exchange, we were going to like support them into like a Nokugo or something like that. It was something.
We said something along the lines of, "We'll support you into Nokugo yet again," in all caps, and then we were going to go off and fight the Spanish. Our agreement was we'll retake Belém because that was an overstep by him. He won't build in Sao. He'll step out of J with our support, and we'll just stop fighting so that we can deal with our other problems.
Because we were really, I think, at this point going, hey, so Portugal just built an army next to you, bro. You want to like deal with that, or you're just going to let them have troops right on your border with no one there?
Do you want them to take receive? Except it doesn't happen. Ever. That never happens. We were
Depressing.
annoyed with this whole situation because we had to effectively death war Fireborn if we didn't get some sort of peace treaty with them. We were already on uncomfortable terms with Spain, and from
Because we had
our eyes
lied
at
to
least.
them, kinda.
We had lied to them so much, but without telling any lies. We were worried about the Dutch unit in Santorum. We were worried about the Aymarans still at this point. A little bit of concern, not as much. Basically, they're just falling apart now because that Guarani unit in the center of their civilization was causing them massive problems. We were
Which was
uncomfortable
ironic
with
because
all of
Guarani
our
at this
neighbors.
point was kind of strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just uncomfortable with all of our neighbors, and we wanted as few a number of fronts as possible. So we wanted to close the Fireborn front, just however
Just for
we
a
had
little
to.
while.
Yeah, just temporarily. We were like, we can fight later, but right now we're gonna take Bellum. You're not gonna build Sal. You'll get out of J. We won't fight for a while, and when we come back to it, we come back to it.
Yeah, alright. Let's go to spring moves then. Going as usual over to our good old Australia. To Welche stabs Portugal here, or maybe it's the other way around. Or like there's I think it's pretty clear to Welche stab in Portugal. To Welche
Yes.
takes New Holland here. That's pretty nice
Getting
and
full control
honestly
over Africa,
nice and
sorry,
clean.
Australia. Yeah, it was.
A lot of crazy taps out into South Pacific Ocean. Danny, there's again one of our big reasons for why we were trying to get on side with Fireborn was simply the fact that him and Spain were already fighting, and so we were kind of like, look, we're happy to be
There's no
your
reason for us
ally.
to fight. We don't have to be allies. We just have a mutual enemy, and we think we can deal with them together, and then we can fight each other. Like, we don't have to be friends after this, but we do want to get rid of Spain, and so do you.
Yeah. At this point, Portugal sports Formosa out to Luzon Strait. There finally is some action up in India with various supports and forcing here done. I finally figured out how to dislodge a Portuguese unit. Congrats.
Huge.
Andaman Island, the cause just gets a free core.
Yep.
Bro, okay. Ayatollah stab on Netherlands here, moving to Banker. I'm fairly sure that would never have been allowed. And I'm fairly sure that was the start of.
Hell no.
Especially as at that very turn, Netherlands moves all the units out to INO.
Yeah.
Oh no. Especially
Yeah,
as
no.
Sambas is now sitting next to Batavia, their core. Yikes. I really think they should make Batavia the Dutch capital.
Where
Instead
was
of
the Dutch capital? Again, it was
South
South
America.
Sebastian,
Yeah,
right?
South Sebastian.
Well, I guess they could either have their capital in the Philippines, in Africa, or in, Brazil. It's something that I think makes the most sense in a way to be in Brazil. But historically speaking, having it in the Philippines would be pretty reasonable because that's where the Dutch East Indies was.
Yeah,
It would make sense for them to have their capital there in the 1640s, especially.
Otherwise, looking at India, nothing. There's a bounced convoy, which I think is pretty pivotal here, where everything just sort of doesn't happen for a year. Yeah. Other than that, bounces again. Netherlands and Portugal working together for once in the Middle East. Once again, really oddness happening in Northeast Africa, where Ottoman is now working with Borneo against Abyssinia. Yeah, you'll notice here that Axum moves into Suakin, which is not a great place to be if you're an Ottoman player. You do not want someone else sitting in Suakin because it's next to Cairo and Baha. Yeah, and you kind of see here that Abyssinia and Ajuran kind of just peace out. They're just vibes now. I'm not sure I mean, obviously we'll have to see here, but this was pretty clearly, I think, where Portugal decides to go very anti-French, because they support the Dutch into Mozambique, and they then go to Comoros Islands, which is, I don't know how that's. I assume. Well, do you think this was when? Do you know when Mapmaker subbed in? Because this could have been when Mapmaker started subbing in.
I think this is nearing the point where Mapmaker subs in. I don't think he subbed in yet. I think this is pretty around the time that he subs in.
I do want to flag one thing. The Portuguese walk into Benguela here. Come on.
Yes, they do.
How hard is it? Why can't we ever get points where we can just walk into someone's states?
I know. Portugal has walked into Burundi when
Kalina.
The Congo walked into Turkana. They just stepped out of it, and Portugal walked in. They supported themselves into Kamina with no resistance, and they also walked into Benguela, which was crazy. They've just walked into all of those African dots.
And then now, it's crazy. Otherwise, Congo-Dutch war continues. English WAF once again continues to kind of really just do nothing. Crazy WAF bounces once again. I don't know.
That was the second time in a row that Fallen managed to call or managed to predict what was going to happen and managed to protect his dots, which was insane.
We see a Portuguese stab on Spain here. I don't really know if his stab of her was actually agreed that they'll support Spain to Rabat, and then Canaries goes to Marrakesh. Just an interesting move here.
I don't know why.
While Ottoman decides to go full blocking wall here.
Probably the right.
Going up to let's go to South America. Nothing super interesting. It's mainly just
a ton of lines.
A ton of lines, and it's mainly just Tehuelche fleets moving around.
This is just Tehuelche
Dutch Guarani doing caps as
something.
usual. It's a lot. I mean, look, this is spring moves. It's mainly. Is this spring moves or is this? Spring moves. It is. Everything is just sort of positional down in the south. Gear Kill, instead of going anywhere, just supports Lula Vilela up to Yorio, which was honestly really smart, I think. But it does now cause this issue where Dander can't move north anymore. So Tehuelche can't kind of move north without hitting Guarani positions. Portugal goes in against Guarani. This was expected, to be honest. I think Guarani had kind of attacked Portugal, so this was just
There's
the
also
next
the support that they tried to throw for
Aymara
to get to Reaper.
Which, if they had done that, I mean, it would have been a 2
I don't think it would have
against
helped them that
1.
much.
I mean, there would have been in a dot though, so backline dot, so probably could have been helpful.
They would have been in a dot surrounded by enemies. Though. The Campo and the one beneath it, they could have just forced them out of Reaper. It might have delayed it, but I don't think it would have
looking west. Looking west. Azura moves to Wamanga instead of going to the Gulf, which is probably just. I don't know why they weren't supported there. Cuzco just sits and holds. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Maybe they wanted the positional advantage.
Quelicolu additionally holds. Doesn't do any taps. They could have.
They were trying to hold it against some.
But they could have. I mean, like if I was them, I would have gone
with Guarani.
I would have Cuzco and Quelicolu bounced Pano out.
They could have, but they wanted to hold their capital, I think. So they did the support hold so that if Guarani and Portugal worked together to take Quelicolu, it would fail.
Yeah.
But instead, Guarani took Aoreo with a double support and.
Yeah. All right. We'll go down to our moves, I think, last here. Gulfstream gets supported into Catalba. You can very clearly see that the Northern Caribbean English-Spanish war is very back and forth. No one really wins. Everyone just kind of loses.
They're just constantly losing things.
Yeah, once again, Jamaica is not taken. In other news.
Antigua hasn't been taken, and Jamaica continues to not be taken.
Yeah, in terms of other moves here, France moves up into Sargasso Sea. I think at this point we asked Fallen to, if I remember correctly, to tap Martinique.
Martinique. Yeah.
And then what actually happens is France tells IU what's happening. And
Yes, they do. And
yeah.
IU even tries to throw support to the Dutch to move into Guyana current, which was a bitch move.
yeah, not cool, bro. You'll probably see that becomes a stalemate. Cartagena holds. Maybe it was supposed to be for a convoy later down the line. Either way, it's holding. It's not moving closer to us. No dramas for us. We're not complaining.
Yeah.
Which then leads us to probably the more at point issue.
5-1 still standing.
We walk out of St. Marcos Bay into Natal. Now, this was not agreed by Dutch, so don't be clear. This was definitely aggressive by us. But...
Yes, but they also tried to move into St. Marcos. And they forced themselves into Altamira.
Yeah, not cool, broskies. Not cool. So, what happens here is, I'm not really sure what lies we told. I think but it basically just ends up being, we support Carib to Santorum, we lose Altamira here, but we just kind of gain positioning. I think, at least for these moves, we kind of just viewed it as it's all about position. We're just moving dots where they need to be.
Yes, this was at this point because it was the
spring
moves. What our thought was, we want to get rid of the questionable variable in our backline, being Santorum, who was not where we wanted it to be, and then we would deal with the balance situation, and then Fallen forced himself into Altamira, which was not very
well, no, it wasn't really.
And just continued the hostility.
And then they forced they just got to a free walk into Nokugo, which was a little disappointing.
Yeah,
but hey ho, is what it is.
Keep in mind, we're still trying to end hostilities here.
What is funny though is
out of our
we could have gotten into Natal if they didn't bounce receive.
Yeah.
The one time Portugal stabbed.
The only time Portugal ever tried.
Well, actually, that was probably a coordinated bounced. Let's be clear.
It could have been, yeah. Honestly.
Right, let's go up to spring retreats. Our options, we didn't. Well, there was only one way for Santorum, for Altamira to go, and that was back to Carib, and that just gave us a long, beautiful line to just sort of hold.
Yes, that gave us a very solid position. We already knew that was going to happen, so we were fine with that. The Santorum unit, we were saying, should move into Jatarana, and then instead of disbanding, it would be
where it goes.
Funny.
Going into 4 moves, let's go to, as usual, our Australian area. It's just a brawl between Tehuelche and Portugal at this point. The Dutch aren't really getting involved. The Dutch are kind of just fighting Spain and losing. It is this Ayutthaya stab really just kind of cut Fireborn's Eastern holdings.
Yeah, that shredded him.
Because
that was a problem.
Yeah, they take Batavia. The Dutch are in Monado because of the weird Banja Marsin taps the previous year.
They also take that was
big. Well, it's yeah. I mean, it was a 50-50, right?
Yeah.
They have 4 dots against 2, in theory. They have 4 units against 2 for Aceh and Sumatra. I mean, discounting Banja Marsin, of course. But yeah, it was they were outnumbered there. We see Spain finally get into Wake Island. Took them long enough. Yeah. Apart from that, Portugal continues to hold on in East Asia with Ayutthaya stabbing Mughals and taking Bamo based.
Finally.
Again, they could have just not stabbed Mughals here, tapped Guangxi, and done.
They could have dealt with Portugal first, yeah.
They could have done some. They could have done like a Yunnan to Guang situation here, and done like a big little roll, and then just completely crushed Portugal.
Well, what they could have done is they could have just started crushing Portugal out. Like if they had Yunnan tap Guangxi and Hanoi support, Paracel Islands in, and then Hanoi support. Maybe even Hanoi support Yunnan into Guangxi, and Lan Nav backfill Yunnan. Something like that. They could have started making progress. The Paracel Islands weren't there because they had backed out earlier because they were worried about the retreat. But with their new position of Yunnan, Hanoi, Paracel, they would be able to make crushes, but they decided to send Ava up to Bamo and had to engage the Ottomans. Sorry, not the Ottomans, the Mughals after that one. Because we're pretty sure they had sort of a peace treaty with the Mughals before this point, where it was just like, we're not gonna fight. We have other problems to deal with. the Mughals wanted to deal with the, English and the Portuguese and the French.
But at
in
this point
India
as well,
and
the Mughals I think peace out with the English to fight
Portugal.
Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking westwards, I mean, just like we discussed, England's sort of just doing their own thing. I don't know what
One
they
way
plan.
of putting it.
They just let Portugal get a core. All right, like
It happens. Coring was a
Portugal
big thing in this game.
doesn't take Ceylon for free, and instead allows themselves to get pushed out of Bellari. Not sure what Lakshad Wheat was doing here, but hey,
I'm not sure either, but the Laccadive Plateau does get into the Maldives and protects their dot there.
yes,
And because of that, the Maldives can only retreat into the Somali Basin, and they can step into Ceylon later.
and we start to see an Ottoman wall coming in from the Middle East. A lot of Ottoman units are starting to move east now.
Yeah, they are.
Looking into Northeast Africa, it is a lot of holds. Nothing super exciting, I think. Yeah, nothing crazy.
This was just in.
I mean, Aden gets taken here. Yeah. Congo. There is a support from Portugal into Kismayo that then does that fail?
Yes, that fails because
because of Ajuran.
trying to support themselves into Kismayo as well.
Yeah. Other than that, France, Ajuran, and Portugal keep beefing over Madagascar.
As you do.
Yep, as you do. Otherwise, some holds west coast of Congo. Once again, it's a bit of a thunderdome with the Dutch dots in West Africa, with Bornu and Congo all having a massive fight. However, there's guesses that go wrong, and so Congo loses Benin. I think that is an explode. I think, if I look at that correctly, that's not great for Congo. Otherwise, Ottomans support England into Portugal, which is crazy.
Yeah,
first time.
good.
Yeah, first time we saw.
This was a point where Portugal was in a state where everyone was looking at them and going, "Okay, Portugal
You're the problem.
is 3/4 of the way to winning, and it's been like 4 years.
2
Everyone
years.
was united.
2-3 years, I think. 2-3 years, I think, at that point. I mean, like
it was
3
2
years.
years or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2
Because we
years.
started in 1442.
1642. Yeah.
Sorry, 1642. Yeah. So it's been 2 years, and Portugal is 35 out of 56. So everyone has basically just gone, we need to deal with this. That's not happening. That's just it's not okay. And so they they go ahead and everyone starts to turn on the Portuguese here. That's why the Ayuthayans have made moves. That's why they made a peace treaty, Mughals and Ayutthaya, to fight
why Ottomans
Portuguese.
hold Spain up in Rabat in their own dot, no less.
Yeah, and the Ottomans start making moves towards the Portuguese in Rostak and Muscat, which is why the wall goes over there. The stabs that are all happening everywhere else. It's
looking
because
at the Caribbean. There's now this really fun point where Bermuda gets taken, and now the only free English core is Antigua.
It's Antigua who hasn't been taken.
Somehow.
And Jamaica's still not taken as well.
Looking up at Antigua, nothing happens really with England takes Catalba. Spain defends, bounces in Havana. Jamaica, once again, still not taken. France pushes in and clears out probably the last remnants of the Dutch there. It is once again Bounce City. And
yeah, at this point, we're just trying to get to force ourselves past Ayutthaya and Ayutthaya.
We're just guessing, really.
Making the call. Yeah. Both sides are just making guesses here, and it's just working out for like no one's getting anywhere. It's really unfortunate.
Cartagena, unfortunately, at this point, moves Maracaibo. We would have liked for them to hold another year. Sadly, they didn't.
They moved into Maracaibo, and we moved into Huitoto.
And Japura. We full on just stabbed the shit out of them.
We're DMZ. I think our wording was something along the lines of we're maintaining our Yanomami DMZ, and we're stepping into Japura, because we told them
I
We
don't.
literally
We
pulled
didn't
the
tell them
same
about
line of,
Huitoto.
we're forcing Japura, you should move elsewhere.
Yeah, that's another one
We
to
can
the.
force ourselves into Japura. You should take Cusco from the Amarans. That'll help you maintain your dot ratio. It's just shifting your dot sideways is all that we're doing, because we need this so that we can help fight against them and you can move your stuff elsewhere. And they go, cool. So we step into Japura and into Kritoto.
Yeah,
Definitely
because we
not
talked.
a
We
super
talked
aggressive
about
move.
whether we were going to move to Yanomami, and I remember going, if we go Huitoto, it's better for us to be there than them be there at the end of the day, and gave us a better line, I think.
Yes.
Otherwise, looking once again to the south, we see the Tehuelche stab on Guarani here.
Guarani, yeah.
Yep, yep, not looking great.
Guarani has a whole lot of red lines here, and that is a bad thing. I think Blanca and Buenos Aires have been bouncing each other basically every turn from the beginning of
That's
the
just
game
what you do,
until
though.
now. Yep.
We see Roggeveen Basin get forced up into Peru Basin. That was good play by Dander there. Just lots of fleets. I mean, that's just how you play Tuauche. You just use your fleets to just bully everyone.
I just noticed, but I'm not sure why. Why did Guarani move Henia into McCoy and Lulurena
It was
into
because of
McCoy
the
as well?
Amaran unit in Com.
Ah, of course, right.
Yeah, yeah. They're trying to cover their dots, and it doesn't work out for them. It's funny enough because if Gearkill had supported Yorio into Quelacolu, they would still have been blocked by Portugal, but would have been better for them.
Portugal, who decides to make a new puppet, the first of many.
Yeah, the first of many. Yeah, bad news for Guarani. I think that was their first. That was probably one of their first years. I think where they took losses. They took a -1.
And it was a bad time to take losses as well, because it just all goes downhill.
Looking elsewhere, Spain gets into Cuzco. I think we knew that was going to happen, but which is why we made which is why we told them we were going to take Chipre.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Sandra moves to Altamira. Now you might be thinking, why not have Carib or Makushim go there? And our reason was Jatarana is doing a tap somewhere, and we're doing it. Which then might make you think, why are you not covering Manaus from Jatarana? And our reason being is, why would Fireborn ever think we were going to move a unit out of a frontline dot? Out of Centrum.
It's not
100%.
something a reasonable person would do.
No.
And even if we did, his logic would be more along the lines of we'd backfill it with Carib, right?
Yeah. So, or Barcelos for this case. And so we were like, cool, okay, we'll just move it. So that was nice. We got a free dot move.
It was a bit of a gamble, but
Did leave us a little
one we were
exposed.
confident in.
But other than that, we guessed wrong again with St. Marcos Bay. Unfortunate.
It was either South Sebastio or Picos that he
but-
would move into here.
But we regain Altamira
Bellum and Altamira.
and Altamira, and everything is all right in the world once again on the cleaner front.
That is our front line with the Netherlands restored, the Bellum Altamira line. He's
Yep.
in Nokugo, so I mean, he got there eventually. It's just like,
didn't really
an
didn't
entire
need our
2 years
help, I
later
guess.
than it could have been.
Looking at, is this builds that I'm looking for? No, it'll be builds. So we have 2 builds. We're already in Makushi, so we can't build there. We do have to decide whether we build Fleet Rikuin or we go like Army Arawak. And I think we decided, this year's going to be our year for the Caribbean. This year's going to be our year to get into and to break the deadlock. And so we build Fleet Rikuin. That didn't really work out.
Skipped over some really funny retreats.
Oh,
The
sorry.
Aymara had to retreat out of Cusco.
Right. Oh, did they? Oh, yeah, they hit each other, didn't they?
So Chiquitano decided to retreat into Zingu, if I'm not mistaken, which was just hilarious for us.
Oh, right. Yes,
they're in the back lines of everyone. Altamira was force popped, which we were celebratory over.
Yeah.
There was a couple of retreats around the world that had errors, I think.
Yeah.
But also some were just really big deals for other countries that meant nothing to us. But the main important ones for us was the Aymara retreats, because they could either retreat into Ikiri, which would be hostile to us, and Chiquitano could retreat into Santorum. And at this point, I think, is when we talked to Aymara and said, "Hi, would you like revenge?"
Yeah.
And Aymara's wording was, "Sure, you're the only ones who haven't lied to me this entire game, so I'll just
Which
trust you. And
isn't
we were
exactly
sitting there and we were
correct.
like, we haven't lied to you.
Which
because
isn't
we haven't
correct, by the
talked to
way.
you.
Which isn't correct, because we definitely lied to them about Nuku going to year 1. But that's beside the point, you know.
That's not important. They didn't know.
They didn't know. Anyway, what was interesting, Gavani didn't try for a backstab, like a dot behind the lines into Huauche. This had I think it was also because Dander, the Huauche player, had a lot of builds. So it was kind of like he's going to cover his dots anyway, there's not really much point.
Yeah, Dander was making huge progress in the Philippines and elsewhere due to his massive naval presence. He had gotten into Quito and everything. He had a lot of builds, so if they had retreated into Mapuche, it was highly likely that they wouldn't actually be able to achieve anything. And indeed, that's probably true.
So I'm looking at the just after builds map for that year, and you can really see that Guarani, all their units are away from their dots, which is great for Dander. It was great positioning for Dander. Portugal, they're just sitting next to open Dutch dots. Once again, makes me sad to say. That was an alliance that sadly never broke.
This is, I think, Mapmaker is in now.
Yeah.
Big Money is out. At this point, I'm pretty sure. This is something that Strawberry saw. The Arakuju unit next to Recife, completely undefended. Doesn't take it. This lasts like 5 years. Just Strawberry was losing his mind over it. He was so enraged. It was very funny. But that was a problem for us, yeah.
Yeah, apart from that, I mean, I think our biggest concern we had was how do we cover, like, Caracas from the Maracaibo Spanish unit?
Yeah, we had problems because the Ayutthayans were clearly hostile to us, which meant holding onto New Courland was going to be difficult. The Netherlands had units in the Atlantic Ocean that were just constantly throwing jabs at us that we had to deal with. We were probably just open hostilities with the Netherlands still on the mainland, so we had his army units to deal with. Spain was now, Maracaibo was definitely going to attack us. There was nothing we could do about that. We had worries because Dander moving into Quito was we had a agreement we made with Dander at the beginning of the game about how we would try and split the South American continent, and him being in Quito was a blatant violation of that agreement. To be fair, the split that we suggested wasn't exactly ideal, but the Quito one was definitely a problem.
I mean, it was going to happen because he was just in the Pacific.
Yeah, the split was something along the lines of north and south, when really it should have been more like northeast to southeast and northwest to southwest. But yeah, that was a problem for us, so we just had problems all over.
I mean, definitely with our relations with Tuelche, Strawberry was pretty anti-Tuelche, I think, for most of the game, and I was pro-Tuelche. And then
I was on the middle ground.
Yeah, you were on the fence.
I think at this point, because this was my first ever game.
Yeah, this was your first ever game.
This was my first ever game.
I think, unironically, 1644, which is this year, was the first year you actually did like all the moves by yourself.
Yeah, I think that when the game started, I didn't understand how the armies worked and how the dots worked. I thought that dots were captured when you entered them and wasn't aware of the fall thing and remained unaware of the whole spring fall system for quite a while. I also thought armies were exponential, so if you owned 4 dots, you would build, 4 units, and then in the next year, if you owned 6 dots, you would build 6 units. But no, it's 1 dot maintains 1 unit. That was something I learned and was disappointed in, but really later on, I was very thankful for that because we were not the most dots on the map. If that's how it worked, we would be screwed. But I made my orders around here. At this current point, I wasn't super pro Tuelche, but I wasn't super anti-Tuelche. I was very anti-Netherlands, though, because we tried making peace with them like 3 times.
I think we were pretty anti-French as well. Yeah.
We were anti-French. We had been trying for 3 straight years to have any communication with France, and they literally just weren't responding to us.
Yeah.
So at this point, it wasn't a matter of I'd like to work with France. It was genuinely a case of I can't work with France. There's nothing we can do about that, so we're just hostile. That's all there is to it.
Which is a shame, because they were like anti-Portuguese, anti-Spanish, anti-Dutch. Like, we would have made great alliances, but...
We would have been a really good alliance, but France just didn't want it. They just didn't want to talk to us.
Alright, let's go to spring moves. As usual, I mean,
It's a mess.
Well, Portugal stabs the Dutch here and takes Flores.
Yes.
Which, I mean, to be honest, if you're reading the books, that's just what you do here. You just take the dot.
That is,
Who
that
cares?
is what you do. They couldn't defend it, so.
They literally couldn't defend
Honestly,
it.
I was just defending against, the Ayuthayans taking it from Batavia.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah. Sumatra finally falls.
Yeah, took a while.
Yep. Portugal. Wait, I just realized Portugal doesn't. Did Portugal disband all their units in? Yeah. Portugal must have been on a disband year because they disbanded Guangxi and Hainan at that point.
They were. They went from like 38 to. This was when they had that absolutely massive loss of.
Yeah.
Like 4 dots or something. I think in 1 year they lose like 6 dots at one point, and then they just balance it back out. But yes, they disbanded all of their Southeast Asia units
Which
around this
Ayutthaya was happy about.
Oh yeah.
Apart from
Those
that,
3 dots. That was huge.
yeah, nothing.
That was really a massive springboard for the Ayuthayans, and it basically cemented the fact that we were not going to be able to get into the Caribbean because they would have no need to disband those units, and they could just hold on to those dots.
Looking into India, nothing super exciting. It's just England and Mughals trying to hold off Ayutthaya here.
Yes, just continuous.
While
conflict,
England caused Pondicherry and Raichur, I assume they were just. You know what, Cherry?
I don't know. I don't know if that drove Strawberry mad as well.
You could have just tapped Matarai here. Don't know why you didn't.
Don't forget that the Portuguese also tried to core. So there was 5 cores going on.
But they could have just tapped Matarai here. Oh.
They could have, but everyone in this game had a weird thing for coring. There was coring
except
going
for
over
us.
in Formosa.
I don't think we only did like one stupid core. I think
we did 1 core the entire game.
Yeah. Well, we never really got to the point where we kind of needed to core until right at the end.
No, it's because we were constantly... our growth was limited because of how hostile everyone was to us. So although we were growing every turn, basically, we would never get more than 4 dots in a turn. So we never needed to core more. Other people just seemed to love coring. There was the Formosa core. There was 4 cores in India. Maldives was being cored at the same time. There was a core in Burundi, I think. There was also a core over in South Congo. I can't remember what that one was. The Bornu was cornering. I think there was cores going over in America as well, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Portugal to getting a free corn Benguela here. Like, come on, Congo. Get your act together, buddy.
This whole thing was a mess, and all of the cores were driving Strawberry mad because he's an avid believer of holding and coring are not things you should be doing. If you can move, you should move.
Yeah. Okay. This is actually probably one of the more interesting moves here. Portugal supports England into Mali, so it's a switchback from. So it's switching from Portugal supporting, from Ottoman supporting England into Portugal. It's now Portugal supporting England into Ottomans, which is a bit of a flip. But I think again, this was the new Portuguese player kind of things were reset. Ayutthaya just kind of sits and holds. France once again plays defense. I don't know why Netherlands and Portugal didn't work together this year. Something happened clearly. There's some miscommunications.
It was the new Portugal, so I assume they were getting back on the team. Well.
England once again trying to look for another core. Finishes scoring St. Augustine. Spain moves into the southeast corridor, which was honestly really smart play there.
Was good.
Jamaica still not taken.
Antigua still not taken.
France just keeps pushing east. I think this point where France moves east, we're like hoping that this is the sign.
Yeah, this was when we were going, oh yes, France is gonna help us. They're gonna kill Martinique. We'll be able to break in. It'll all be great. We might still struggle with France themselves, but at least we're gonna be past Ayutthaya.
Yeah, looking south, it's a storm of Tokauchi units moving north, while Guarani just cannot defend against themselves and Portugal.
Well, Guarani is trying really hard, but the Portuguese...
They're so out of position, it's not even funny.
Yeah, basically the Portuguese and Tokauchi agreed to crush them here, and holy hell did they crush them.
Yep. Aymara just sitting pretty.
They're trying to stay alive.
Looking at Spain, they get into Azura.
Maracaibo back into Cartagena was huge for us. That was very, very nice. Although we did step into Pagoda here.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was agreed. I'm not sure what the entire plan was.
No, that wasn't agreed. No, that wasn't agreed. Us stepping into Shipibo wasn't agreed either, I think.
I know, but I think if I remember correctly, I'll tap on Shipibo just to stop them from being in Shipibo. That was the plan. The idea was,
but we hadn't agreed on that with them.
You'll quickly notice that we didn't even
moving.
bother to cover Manaus. Just like,
no. There was nothing too close to Manaus. We were pretty sure if, say, Chiquitano decided to move to Santorum, we could just have Carib step in.
Once again, another bounce in South Sebastio. Honestly, not complaining about that bounce, but obviously if we'd gone Natal and then Recuin taps St. Marcos Bay, we could have been in the money there.
We were confident that we were going to get into Tobago because Guadalupe tapped Martinique or something else. And if we had gone St. Marcos into Natal at this point, then Mid-Atlantic would definitely have gotten into St. Marcos.
Recuin could have tapped St. Marcos Bay here.
Our biggest concern wasn't Fireborn at this point; it was getting into the Caribbean. Because
I think our view was kind of Fireborn was dying. Let's just eat him.
Yeah, Fireborn was not as big of a problem. He was starting to lose in the Philippines. He was losing South Africa.
He was losing West Africa.
In Africa. Yeah, we were just thinking he won't be too big of a problem. We need to deal with Ayutthaya ASAP. We don't want them in our way. We need to get past them.
Yeah. So we take Pagoda. Again, nothing really happens against Ayutthaya, and we force J. That's really just to get units moving, I think, was really the plan.
Yeah.
Just get units moving.
We just wanted them out of our back line so that when builds opened up, we'd be able to make use of the dots we get.
I don't really know if there's actually any interesting retreats. I think we'll skip straight to full moves.
There were not any retreats of importance to us.
Yeah. Looking Australia, it's just there's a core on New College. You'll quickly notice that Tawalchi's got an army in Australia. If you have an army in Australia, it is super powerful. It is because you just sit it in the outback and it can just play defense. Otherwise, it's just everyone's just kind of eating Netherlands here. Portugal supporting Netherlands.
Although the Netherlands start fighting back and Spain actually starts being the loser in this scenario.
Yeah, I think there's just bad guesses.
I think so. I mean, the Philippines was like North Africa in that it was just a giant bloodbath.
What's interesting here is that Bamo doesn't go Huguang.
Yeah.
Because
it was
Murak could have tapped Kolkata. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have.
Also, Mughals tried to do a court on Surat. They could have bounced Bijapur here. I mean, they actually didn't want to bounce Bijapur here. But they had other options. I'm not really sure, again, what... Yeah, there's weird moves in India. At this point where we're recording the AAR, Voids and press channels aren't even out yet. So we have no really idea why people are doing what they're doing. We're just kind of guessing. India seems like a bit of a clusterfuck.
Honestly, it was such a mess.
And that it's the last remnants of Portugal in Muscat is getting deleted. Bornu gets stabbed here by Ottomans, to be expected, kinda.
It's been happening the whole time at this point, yeah. That's just how it goes.
Congo loses another dot to Portugal.
Again, yeah. Mind-boggling is what it is.
I don't know what...
They're not even
I want to read
much.
the Congo player's void. I want to understand why.
I'd like to know what was going on.
I just want to know
because
why.
They just got completely swallowed.
I don't know if this was like they were throwing and they just wanted to like finish the game, but yeah.
They didn't defend themselves like at all. They actually never succeeded in defending against Portugal, but they did succeed against other people, which is odd.
Portugal
unfortunate.
Walks into Kulada at the same time as going to Jacob's Fort, and then we see the mass Ottoman army into Mali. Yeah. Other than that, nothing super crazy. Ottoman tries to stab Spain up in Rabat, but Portugal holds them. It's very wacky. Going to...
And the Spanish were trying to support the Ottomans into Marrakesh as well.
There's clearly some stuff going on. Portugal, and I mean, look, it's the same old, same old. It's just Garani dying. I don't think there's anything super exciting to talk about there.
The Amarans get a dot down there.
Yes,
They
Amara
get
does get
imbued
swallowed into a
Geneva.
dot. Other than that, let's get what happens for us. Bermuda moves out. Antigua is finally taken. Jamaica is finally taken.
This is like 3 years late.
England just walks out of Catalba.
Yeah, they just do
Okay,
that.
bro. Okay.
I don't know what Yucatan was doing either.
Yep. No, not really, dear. Clearly, Spain was trying to get France there. With Jamaica, there's
This
clear
was also when we
support.
were first stabbed openly by Teholche,
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
which set
France
programmable
retakes
path.
Maracaibo. France is kind of a bit scary for us because they're kind of getting
France is getting huge right now. They're getting very threatening. They have most
because
of the dots
because Ayutthaya is kind of doing all their work for them, so we kind of can't stop
Yes,
them.
Ayutthaya is stopping the only competitor of France.
Let's
in
be
that
clearly
class.
here. England and Spain are just not doing great. They are too focused on
England
each other.
got screwed early on. We were initially thinking of allying with England, but England was just so screwed over that it was like, I don't know if they can be a valid
And we can't
ally.
work with Spain because they're in our dot area.
They're in our they're too close to us. We need to take their dots. England does survive for quite a while though, so we do work with them later on. But at the moment, the problem is that France has the biggest naval presence in the Caribbean, and we can't even fight them because Ayutthaya is refusing to let us help.
Yeah. Otherwise,
I guess we didn't need a help.
otherwise, in terms of our dot moves, again, we could have taken Natal. Honestly, I imagine if we had. Ugh. That would have been another death knell for Netherlands. We take Sao Sebastio, and we get into Centrum, which is pretty important for us. We at this point had made a deal with Tehuelche that in exchange for them taking Quito, which was in our area, they would support us into Lima. They then decided instead to support Cartagena to Bogota. This was a 1-dot stab on us, and I think was the most apoplectic I've ever seen Strawberry.
He had completely lost his mind over this.
Yeah.
And basically this move set Strawberry's permanent stance to, I will not work with Teholche for anything. I won't do it. I refuse. We're going to war. This move alone set Strawberry absolutely mad. He was already going crazy from all of the ridiculous coring and all the crazy moves that were happening here and there across the map this whole time.
We really should
And
have
all of the
Quito,
stabbing
yeah.
that we were receiving and all of the failed diplomacy because people just weren't willing to work with us for some reason. And this just drove him over the edge.
Yep. Well, I mean, look, if we had tapped Quito here, would have saved us. But we were trying.
But
we
I
were
think
trying to
he-
work. We were trying to work with Tehuelche here. You know, we were just trying to work with someone.
Yeah, I think he told us that he was supporting Shipibo into Lima and just didn't do that.
Yep. Which is really funny later on with the whole Lima Cusco situation.
It is.
We move into Guahibo. For us, that's kind of fine. Look, losing Pagoda, it's 1-dot. We were just like, why?
It wasn't even our dog.
I mean, in future press between me and Dander, he explains that he wants to do it to slow us down. Which, you know what? In the end, it slowed us down.
It did, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he needed to slow us down, to be honest, because the Ayutthaya is stopping us from getting into the Caribbean.
Yeah, but we had got another dot.
Basically
I
speaking.
think we would have been in a lot better position.
I reckon, yeah, maybe. Maybe he did manage to stop us by doing that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, what
I do think we
it helped
would
him.
have been pretty screwed because of the Ayuthayans, but it was a good move by him, honestly.
Yeah. Looking at build, I don't actually have what we actually built, so just give me a second. I think
there
we built a
was
fleet, didn't we? No, we did. Oh,
important
it was a
in
nothing.
retreats.
It was a nothing. Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, going to spring moves. Let's just speed it up here. Nothing really happens. It's just sort of everyone eating everyone in the east. Ayutthaya just making moves to take Formosa here.
Another core.
Lots
Don't
of
ignore the
bounces.
extra core.
Lots of bounces and failed moves out in India. Andaman Islands is retaken here from England by Ayutthaya. Portugal finally dies in Muscat. Abyssinia starts another campaign against Ajuran here.
They were having a terrible time. Yeah,
Abyssinia just kind of pieced out with Ottomans and then just kind of became their puppet. There's a lot of puppet players, I think, in this game. They kind of get overlooked.
there is, yeah. At least 3 players, I think. Maybe 4.
In terms of elsewhere,
Third of the game.
Ajuran just lets Zanzibar get called. Alright,
Yeah,
cool.
I don't know about that. There's a lot of calls that happen in this
Soyo
game.
gets taken by Portugal, so Portugal takes another dot.
Yep.
Um,
The Congolese finally defend themselves successfully
Yeah.
from Portugal.
yeah, crazy.
It was very good for them.
Um,
This is when they start to properly fight them. But
yeah, it's
at
weird
this point,
because
they
Congo
have
had kind of
so
gotten
little left.
because Congo had kind of gotten neutered, and then actually meant that Dutch West Africa was actually able to survive.
Yes, because of this, Dutch West Africa survives and becomes a problem for us later. But yeah, at this point, Congo's down to what, 3 dots or something, 4 dots, and they just can't do anything anymore. They're not a threat to anyone.
Yep. Other than that, Spain finally dies in Rabat.
Mali gets a crazy hold.
Yes.
That was cool. I liked that.
Once
I
again,
approve.
Portugal working with England.
They took Jacob Fort here off the IU tie,
Yeah.
and we were happy with that.
Yeah, they did that I think 2 years ago or last year I think. Anyway, otherwise, Guarani coring Trinidad. That's just funny. I hate to say it.
No, yeah, that was funny.
Guarani was just kind of vibing at this point. I think.
At this point, Guarani was like chatting with us and just going.
I think I think
just...
we're going. I think we're going. Hey, why don't you go to Todos or Santos Bay and just help?
Yeah, we were just like, hey man, you're dead, but like, you want to work with us and get the
Otherwise,
revenge. And they were
in
like,
terms of moves, in terms of at least Northern Caribbean, funny enough, Portugal is supporting England into Bermuda. That doesn't happen. There's then like a three-way bounce in
I don't know why
Sargasso.
England doesn't take that.
Antigua moves Montserrat. That's kind of our worst nightmare.
That was really bad for us. And the fact that Guadalupe still hasn't attacked Martinique, and Venezuela moves into Caracas, I think it was. At this point, we just go, the Ayutthayans and the French are definitely working together, and there is no way that we can ever work with the French, which means that there's no way that we're going to be able to get along with the Ayutthayans, which is, we're not getting into the Caribbean, is basically our mind at this point.
Yeah, so Yanomami and Shipibo bounced. That was just basically because we didn't want Spain there, because that just is too close to too many cores.
Yeah.
Arakuna goes to Barcelos to help defend Japur and Manaus. Spain moves up to Ikiri. We bounce out Nokugo. We thought that Portugal was going to stab, and they didn't stab. Yeah.
No, Portugal is helping.
Which is funny, because here we could have, we could have done some crazy work here. We could have, tapped Palmas here.
We could have done a lot of stuff here, and it would have been awesome. But
Portugal kept making promises they were going to stab, and they didn't.
We didn't realize that Portugal was just like we were like, I don't know what's wrong with Portugal and why they're not attacking Recife, and then they moved away from Recife, and we just went, okay, there's something wrong, and they hadn't openly been working with Fireborn up until this point. They hadn't been openly working with the Netherlands, and had conflict in other parts of the world, so we were sort of unsure. But this point basically cements, okay, so the Portuguese are just keeping the Netherlands as a wall against us.
I mean, we take Natal, which is probably, I think, it might have been now close to our high watermark, I think, against the Dutch here.
Yeah, that was good for us. We wanted them to be completely out of this place. Yeah. We wanted them to not have Natal, Recife, Sao Sebastião, because if they just didn't have any cores, every unit we popped there was just a permanent loss that they wouldn't be able to recap.
Yep. Moving on to straight onto, I think, 4 moves here. Unless I've just Yeah, we can get 4 moves. Okay.
Yeah, no, there wasn't any retreats of importance to us. France was the only one, I think.
Nothing really exciting here. Yeah, Formosa gets taken. The last bits of the Dutch get into Batavia, back into Batavia. That's nice for them. Helped by Portugal.
This is where Spain's getting pressured now by Tehuelche.
And also by Ayutthaya.
Ayutthaya has basically reached a point where they've kind of managed to make themselves into a corner. They can just
they reach their critical mass.
At this point, Ayutthaya is just too strong for any of its neighbors to deal with.
Ottomans making alliances with Abyssinia basically made them as well into a corner power.
It did, absolutely.
And then they were able to just bully.
And the non-aggression pact with the not Muscovy. What the hell? That's completely the wrong place. With the the hell?
Mughals.
What happened? My brain just turned off. Mughals.
Yeah.
Their non-aggression with the Mughals means that they literally only have to really deal with
Like
Africa.
they just go west and
massive.
south, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, that was massive for them. That was huge.
Yeah, that was really well played, and it's why Ottomans were the top of the leaderboard.
Absolutely.
Other than that, yeah, more pushing on Bornu. Yeah, Portugal takes more Congolese dots here.
They start losing dots to Congo.
They start losing a couple dots, but it's not too crazy. Otherwise, up in West Africa, Mali is once again.
The Netherlands also loses Cape Co.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, that's the start.
France to Holche combination, which was interesting.
I think it irritated us when we saw that because we were like, "Why is Fallen talking?" Because we're like, "Why is Fallen talking to why
Fallen's
is France
talking to other people and not us?"
Yeah, we're like, "Come on, man!"
And it made Strawberry angrier because the people that he's talking to were the people that Strawberry wanted dead.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, looking at other moves, Garani. Sadly, we asked Garani to go to get Ganabara Bay, and it led to their death because Trinidad walked out of a dot.
And the
S in chat for Guanabara Bay.
It was really unfortunate that Garani lost that dot. It could have been really funny. At this point, Fallen Fireborn was moving south because we had, quote unquote, an agreement to leave what he had left alone, and in return, he'd go and attack Danda for us. And then we took Natal Recife and tried to force ourselves into Picos, and he decided.
Once again, Portugal being an ass.
Yeah, that was a problem. And we were still confused because, like, you can see he's support holding Picos, he's support holding Chiquitano, and then he's trying to step into Palmas.
Yeah, it's also really. I mean, look, we can ignore the North Caribbean here because it's just France. Look, it's England and Spain being stupid, really, just walking out of each other's dots.
Yeah,
it's weird. Danda here makes the deal. I will support you into Bogota. In exchange, like we peace out, and we decide. I'm not sure what the vote was between us three, but
we went to a spectator vote. We voted between us, couldn't come to a definitive conclusion, and used the parliamentary system we had to extend the votes to the spectators we had to vote on what moveset we should do, and it was a mess.
And we eventually decided to side with Spain and kill Quito. It was mainly out of pettiness.
It was primarily pettiness.
It was mainly Strawberry's pettiness.
Strawberry was
it was 100% the pettiness. I didn't want to do it. I'm going to be honest. I just want to take this.
I think Dial was the only one who didn't want this to happen. Yeah, I think I voted for this as well. And because Daya refused it.
However, we were doing it at the same time as we were making other deals with Spain. Like, for example, we got supported into Cartagena here. We asked Cherry here, the English player, we're like, hey, can you tap Caribbean Sea? And she was like, yup. So, you know.
That was huge for us.
We got Cartagena. Otherwise, we gave up New Orleans for Caracas. That was just because we just wanted better positioning. Ayatollah then stabs France, which is crazy and really helps us because it means they're now no longer working together.
It was big, especially because Montserrat just tried to attack us.
Crazy big.
Reg did attack us, and Caracas attacked us, and now the Ayuthayans are fighting back against the French, because I think when we talked to Ayutthaya later on, they mentioned that France's demands are just gradually increasing, and they're not having any of it anymore.
Yep, they were in a bad spot.
France wanted them to be completely removed, whereas our offer from the beginning of the game was just, you move like Antigua St. Martin, and we'll have the lower dots so we can pass through and we don't have to fight. They refused that and instead got attacked by...
To be clear, from this point, Danda, the Tuacha player, was not happy with us taking Quito.
Oh no, he was so angry.
He was
so angry because all of the things that we were doing from this point were just screwing
I think he called it a 1-dot stab, and then we said that you also 1-dot stabbed us. It was a whole thing.
That happened.
I mean, at the same point in time, we were really happy though because we got 3. We gained 3 from that. Like we gained really well positionally.
And also by having Spain in Quito, our idea was Spain's going to have to deal with him, and we'll just take the rest of Spain's stuff while they're desperately trying to fight off the whole chain. which didn't really happen because the Holche had, you know, 4 fleets in
Can
the
yeah,
South
they can
Pacific
spam
Ocean.
out like 4 fleets a year.
They have like multiple fleets a year, and because the South Pacific Ocean touches Quito, 5 fleets in the South Pacific Ocean, 1 fleet in the Gulf of Guayaquil and the Colon Ridge. There are 6 dots, or 6 spaces, 7 spaces touching Quito, and Tehuelche had the ability to fill all of them. If Tehuelche wants those dots, there was no way we could stop them. But it was just a delaying tactic, really, while we tried to steal stuff from Spain while screwing over Tehuelche.
Yeah. Apart from that, looking in terms of builds, we were very confident with our Dutch border because even though Portugal was there, we were like, cool, we're just gonna like chill, nothing's gonna really happen. So we built 2 armies and then a fleet. Fleet Recuin was going to go to St. Marcos to protect itself. The 2 armies, one army was going to go down to Japura, I think, and then the other army would go to Hutoto, and then the other army was going to head up north, basically.
The Belize Corps happened as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
That English Corps is gone.
Yep. And England only has. England does get a build here. They do build in St. Augustine.
They build in St. Augustine, yeah, a fleet. And that's like the highest presence England has ever had in the Caribbean for 4 fleets.
Going to moves. Yeah, nothing really. Looking at the east, it's Spain is moving anti-Tehuelche here. While Ayutthaya backfills Spain's dots. Ayutthaya starts thundering west.
The Ottomans are taking a bite out of the...
Yeah, Ottomans are about to stab Mughals.
They're also crushing down on the Adjuranis.
Yep, that's happening. They're also there's a bit more back. There's some back and forth there against Bornu, Congo.
Losing dots again.
Losing dots against Portugal.
It's fine. It's whatever.
It's whatever. At this point, you see the Netherlands. It's weird. This is the most like non-populated like west coast of Africa for fleets because it's only Netherlands and Portuguese fleets, and they're all off doing other things.
The Netherlands have almost lost their South Africa colony though. They've only got 1 dot remaining.
But they just don't really care because they've got Portugal protecting them. So
yes, they've got they're acting as their Portugal's puppet by this point.
Like full on puppet. Like they will.
Yeah,
they
like
will
they're a
walk
full
dots.
puppet, which is why when we get over to our side, you'll see the moves. It'll just be very clear. It was also very annoying, but what can you do? Mali has some crazy holds again. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Other than that, it's when Portugal and Ottomans sort of just have a border skirmish up in the North Africa. I think we're kind of going to ignore it because nothing really happens for the rest of the day.
At this point,
they just could have just.
Everyone's really
it's just a stalemate. England does another core in Catalpa.
England has another core, yeah. And
to be honest, if you walked out of your core, your dots that much, maybe you would also think that maybe I should stay in my dots and do cores. You know?
Well, I mean, to be fair, let's think of it this way, right? Everyone's stepping out of a dot and into someone else's dot. No one's defending their own dots. Yeah. But if all of the dots are your core, you're only going to be able to step into your own dot, right?
Yeah. Okay. Heading down to the south. Yeah, it's the end of Guarani.
The Bay of Panama tap saves Cartagena.
Yes. We're about to hit there.
That was in the Caribbean, but
Spain tries. Sorry, Tehuelche
tries to convoy,
and we save Quito.
We save Quito despite Spain trying to stab us as well,
which is ironic, but
it's just hilarious. But the moment that we see that convoy, as far as we're concerned, any and all treaties we had with Tehuelche are probably screwed because if he's convoying armies up there, we're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, because as soon as they're there, we can't stop them. So
we can't. It's going to be impossible to dislodge them. So at this point, we're just going.
You and Strawberry got a lot more anti-Tehuelche here. I think I'm still a lot more willing to work. Really. I'm willing to do press with. Dan is kind of refusing to talk to you guys and only talking to me.
He's refusing to talk to us. At this point.
Well, to be fair, Strawberry and him had a massive argument in press. So
I'd like to briefly mention as well that the Quito stab that we did, right?
Yeah.
Was around when the grace period had
Yeah.
lasted like for 3 weeks or
Yeah.
something. We had like a 3 week long grace. So around this point, our GM was mentioning something about maybe we should just end the game. And so when I agreed to that, Seb, I thought that the game was going to end. And then the next turn came, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, oh,
Yeah.
that's bad. We've just screwed any future chances we have of working with Danda, who is very
Well,
powerful
we
and
do,
potentially
we
very
do end up
helpful.
working down to a little bit towards the end, but that's a bit of a
Yes, but
spoiler.
it's literally too late at that point.
Otherwise, looking at the restaurant moves, Dutch and Portugal once again working together. So the Dutch, the Dutch being able to support themselves into Todos or Santos, we just kind of go, oh well, we'll just pull out and just defend our dots elsewhere because we can't.
We wanted to move Natal into St. Marcos because it was
Hmm.
theoretically safe.
We take
Our
Picos.
thought was even if they take Natal, we can just force it with Recife.
Yeah.
But what happened was not something.
Yeah, what's annoying is that because we force Picos, Picos can then fall back to Natal, which is
Yeah.
which is a bit of a mistake on us. We really should have done something about that.
We should have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was sort of acting as quality control because I was unconfident in my judgment, but I missed that.
I mean,
as well.
otherwise, it's once again another bounce. Another bounce.
We do get into Nokugo though.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
Oh yes, because of Qualicolu. Qualicolu, we asked Aymara for a tap, and they did it.
We asked Aymara to tap that, and they did, which was legendary.
We guessed right with Spain and Ikiri.
Yes, we did.
Which was nice. And then going. Okay, this is strange. I'm definitely would love to look and see what the exact press was. Basically, Ayataya. We talk to Ayataya and we go, why don't we just work together now?
This is when Ayutthaya finally agrees to work with us after what five full years. They finally go, okay, France is not very cool. I want to work with you. And in the press, we're going, yeah, sure, we can do that. Whereas in our void, we're going, fuck!
Thank you, Brookie Mike.
It took so long. Why couldn't you have done this 5 years ago?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had any of these.
We would have been
problems.
so happy to
We'd
work with
both be fine.
Ayutthaya like 4 years ago and just like storm the rest of the Caribbean. But oh well. Otherwise, it takes a lot of back and forth to get the moves like how everyone wants.
We're trying to figure out, one, how to trust each other, and two, what moves we can make that'll benefit both of us whilst not leaving us vulnerable to each other. This was the moveset that we eventually decided on here, which was...
Hey, look, we retake New Courland, we get into Martinique for spring, we're out into Guiana Current. We get a good tap on Caribbean Sea by the England, so Cartagena is saved. I think Spain starts to like us again now, because we just kind of, we saved their ass.
Because we're defending them. They're like, okay, I see what they were trying to do. We're not comfortable, but we'll work with you at this point. The idea of
let's go to 16. Let's move up to 4 moves.
There were no... Oh, the only retreat worth mentioning was the Picos to Natal retreat.
Yeah, which is just a...
And Guarani descends.
It was just a big misplay by us.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Also, the Netherlands has 3 fleets in the ocean at this
point.
That
was a bit scary, but again, that was just literally
because
all their fleets in West Africa could just migrate to Mao.
Yeah, the ocean's a crazy amount of control with mobility that you can just get so fast. But yeah, that was the only retreat I think worth mentioning.
Going to 4 moves, looking at the East Asia, it's just a big sort of... It's weird because at this point, Tehuelche and Spain are working together against Ayutthaya.
Yeah,
it's weird.
We were aware of this as well. I think Tehuelche had mentioned working with Spain to us, and then we stabbed, and then
it was very messy. Looking in Africa,
something cause.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. Just Congo losing more dots.
The Portuguese make an interesting move where they bounce themselves out of Sakalava.
I think that was agreed. That must have been an agreed move because you wouldn't do that normally.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure why.
I would have supported, but yeah.
Who knows? Otherwise, Egeron keeps dying to Abyssinia here. Abyssinia basically just gets to have a free kill because
it was really good for them.
Portugal gets into Mali this time.
Hell yeah.
And that's the end of Ayatollah fighting Portugal.
That was that was a four supporting units moving Gaba into Mali.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
That's the
of
thing with Mali. There's a lot of dots that can play around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, looking North Caribbean, and actually we'll go south first. Guarani keeps dying. Nothing super exciting there. Spain supports Ayorio into Kuala Kolu. So at this point, Tehuelche is basically going to Spain, like, we're going to peace out. At this point, we thought we were kind of piecing out. So it was messy.
We thought we were piecing out.
It was very messy. The Spanish Tehuelche Kalina triangle was very messy in terms of agreed plans.
Basically, the Spanish Kalina line was reasonably comfortable for us, but then once the Tehuelche got involved, Spain decided that we weren't.
They could be a lot more bolshy. Yeah.
Yeah, just turned into a mess. And we can see that with the supports they get thrown.
Yeah, thankfully, Quito doesn't move to Bogota. It's the other way around, and so Panama goes to Bogota instead of Quito, which then means
we end up in Panama.
Which then means it isn't a Spanish fleet next to Yanomami. Sorry, Spanish army next to Yanomami. Other than that, our next year just works well. We
get dislodged from Caracas, though.
We get dislodged from Caracas, but we walk into Panama. And in terms of our deals with Ayatollah, everything sort of goes to plan.
What's that red line? What were we supporting there?
I wonder if
we were supporting Tobago into Martinique.
Yeah, and then I guess they must have disagreed. Which is funny because if they
right. They said they didn't trust us.
Yeah,
but because they didn't move out of Tobago and into Martinique like we had agreed, that actually caused us a problem.
Other than that, Portugal supports Palmas into Picos. This was just bad luck for us, basically. Misplayed with
and
Natal.
We stepped into Sao Sebastião, which
well, we were covering against Natal. There's nothing else we could really do.
No.
Yeah, it was not great. This was sort of a resurgence. It's just one of those things where, if you're fighting against someone and they have someone else supporting them the entire way, there's nothing you can really do about it.
No, Portugal supported into Recife as well. It was just
going into builds. We had two builds, and we just built double fleet. It was anti-France, anti-Dutch time. We're in Panama. I think at this point we then sort of we pieced back out with Tehuelche. I think this was a year where I talked to Tehuelche again. I talked to Dan.
Yes,
I went, hey.
A piece, but our pieces with.
I went, hey, like this isn't working. We need it. Like, let's either just keep going back and forward. You want dots. We both want dots. I think actually, if we go back to full moves, you can see here, Chapaya moves up to Guayaquil. Guayaquil goes to Peru Basin, and that's just a setup to take.
I think he was asking us after this point. He starts asking us to tap Cusco as well, like a lot.
Yeah,
and we just can't do it. We're just not in a position to.
Well, we also just didn't want to.
And because we can't do it, our alliance remains shaky.
In terms of spring moves, it's just Ayatollah trying to fight against Tehuelche in Spain here. Mughals literally just collapsing.
Yeah, no, they got pressured by first
and England joined in as well.
England wasn't doing too hot already. There wasn't much they could do. Their moves were largely supportive, and that just meant they themselves were undefended. They just got stepped on at that point.
Yeah. Other than that, Africa kind of boring. Just gonna skip really.
Africa is still just an absolute mess. Portugal and Congo are fighting over dots, and nobody's winning there.
Yeah. Apart from that, if we look at South America, what were your thoughts on the Dutch moves?
The Dutch moves here were pretty well just set with their mindset of we are going to death war us. They had basically decided I'm going to work with Portugal. Portugal told me, you told me you were going to leave my stuff alone and that I would go fight Tehuelche, and you didn't do that, so now it's war, and Portugal's got my back. He didn't say the Portugal part, but that was pretty abundantly clear.
Yeah.
All of his moves were either moving towards us or into the ocean so that they could support move themselves more against us. We had to we just had to pull back our front line to reconsolidate.
Which is a shame because we were
line.
up to Picos, Natal, and Recife at this point, and we had to pull
Yes,
all the
and
way
we
back.
had to step out of Sao Sebastião into Belém again. Like, it was just abysmal for us.
But we had better positioning, I think.
We had better positioning, but fewer dots, and that became an issue because he regains dots around this point, I think, which was absolutely unbelievable.
yeah, it turns out having massive colonial ally helps you. Otherwise, looking at the rest, we don't go to Orinoco Gulf of Paria. I think we really just rolled the dice and we just decided to go there.
Yeah, we did. We rolled the dice here. It was.
I think it was because we were like, if we're in Orinoco and Gulf of Paria and we get into Montserrat, but like Mao 1 or Mao 2 gets into Guiana Current, that's just worse for us in every way.
We had to maintain the San Marcos Bay dominance, which we did, but
at this point,
another stab on Spain to Holche, which doesn't work out because, of course, it doesn't. Spain supports.
To be clear, we had made an action agreement here where they were going to support in spring, and then I think stab, and then we were going to stab them in fall. Like there was a whole thing. There's a whole plan here. Don't worry, there's a plan.
There was a plan. I don't remember how that plan went, though.
We will have a look in fall. Other than that...
Sorry, it's just really hard to remember, because at this point, the game had gone on for about 4 months or something. There had been a 3-week grace period, a 2-week grace period, like two
People
1
kept
week
having
grace periods.
I think this might be a point where Portugal gained another player.
This was around when Portugal gained Haru.
Basically, what happened is the Portuguese player basically went, I don't want to keep playing unless I get a duo, and kind of basically held the rest of us hostage in the nicest way possible. It wasn't fun for all the rest of us because we just basically had to sit there and wait for someone to say, yeah, I'll play.
Basically Portugal, I think, said something along the lines of, I'm kind of too busy, I need someone else so that the game can continue running at, as stable a pace as possible, despite the fact that we were doing turns once every 4, 5, 6 days because of grace periods. But they came.
Wasn't our fault though. Wasn't our fault for grace periods.
We were on time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I think, around when Haru turned up.
Yeah. In terms of let's just go straight up onto 4 moves.
I'll check the retreats quickly. Nope, nothing worth noting.
Yeah. Moves, nothing interesting in the east here. Nothing super interesting. It's
at this point it's just a matter of dominance being asserted.
I mean, look if we look at the leaderboard,
I think
Ottomans, Ajax, Huauche, Portuguese, Kalina, France. At this point in time, our basic goal is we know we can't do a solo basically, so we're trying to get within that top set of get into impunity. For that, we're basically trying to beat Portugal there. It's basically we're just trying to get dots at this point.
At this point, it's just a mad dash time, and we're getting to the mad dash. We're not quite there yet, but I think at this point the Philippines has a ceasefire, and all of them just agree not to fight. India is just a mess as always. Africa is just a mess as always. Portugal takes a lot of dots, I think, at this point. South America, there is a very clear, uncomfortable line between Tehuelche and Portugal. They don't trust each other. But Tehuelche still needs to take.
And Ibarra supports Portugal into their own dot, which is crazy. Otherwise, in terms of moves, obviously there's I don't know what Sao Sebastian's move was there. Something.
They were trying to support themselves, but then they just didn't take it.
Yeah.
For reasons known only to God and himself, I suppose.
Nothing really happens on the border. We sort of just go, because I think at that point if nothing happens there. In terms of against Spain, again, nothing happens. It's just nothing. But I think it's actually next year, the year after, where we actually work with Tehuelche. This is just another year where kind of nothing happens.
A call is happening in Belize.
Otherwise, we take Antigua, which was lovely. And
Finally, yeah.
we
Bloody hell, we got
take
progress.
Caracas with Barbados bouncing them out of New Courland, which was lovely to see. We also defend Guadalupe against Spain, which makes Ayatollah happy. Yeah, it was a pretty solid year. Not like it wasn't terrible, just wasn't great.
No, we didn't gain anything, and this was when we really started worrying because we didn't gain anything. We were definitely going to fall behind at this point, and at this point, I think is when it's starting to become I'm taking over for Strawberry.
Yeah,
which is you could say it's an impressive growth, but at the same time, it's been like 4 months by this point.
So you kind of already knew how to play.
I kind of figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy retreat.
Look at South Atlantic Ocean. Yikes.
Yeah. Ocean retreats are always a thing.
Let's skip that. Right. Going on to. Let's just go straight to the next move map, I guess.
The French could have retreated into Orinoco, but they disbanded, which was
a full move.
We like that.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. 1648 winter builds. France disbands Maracaibo and Ivers Ridge, which we just go. Okay.
We are very happy with that. That's huge news for us.
We're just like, sure, okay, that just gives us dots, like especially because we're fairly sure at this point that our Ayatollah relationship is solid. There's also a Tehuelche fleet in Mal 4 at this point. It's just migrated out there.
That's something that we are worried about though, because our relations with Dander are a little
spicy.
Let's say shaky.
Other than that, the Dutch get more builds to our dismay.
Which was actually, they were bragging about that in the
sure
Council of Nations, and everyone was going, "Whoa, how?"
Yeah.
That was awesome. It was very
cool. Yeah, because it's funny because Portugal was supporting the Dutch against the English.
Yeah, basically.
Anyway, going on to spring moves. Let's just skip the rest of the world because anything happening out
by this point.
Yeah, apart from that, yeah, the Tawache basically just gives up on defending Spain and just lets Ayatollah eat them.
That's when they have a ceasefire treaty for sure. They just go, you take that, we'll stop fighting.
Congo, I think, just pieces out at this point because Portugal just runs past them.
I'm gonna be real.
France dying. France just dies in West Africa.
We were happy with that. France was someone that we weren't happy with because of their just refusal to communicate, and because of that we had no.
It was just like we're playing a press game. Let's actually press.
And we're trying to talk to people, and nobody's willing to talk to us. And the people who are willing to talk to us hate us. Whether it's justified or not is a separate issue, but.
At this point, so Tehuelche and Portugal start fighting, which we were happy to see, frankly.
That was huge.
That was nice. Other than that, you see Rapa Nui go to Peru Basin, which is a setup. This is the point where everyone goes, what's happening here? It looks like there could be beef.
This is also when Dan started asking us to do tax.
Utter nothing burger against Spain here, but that was kind of all planned. Yeah. We pieced out with Netherlands, so everyone just kind of held. Though we were completely planning to stab them and fall. We just wanted...
there was no way we were going to leave them alone.
He
was too annoying.
Other maneuvers, we get ourselves into Puerto Rico, which was lovely. We get English support there. I don't know how. He just gives us it. I
asked Jerry nicely.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Just asked Jerry nicely for this.
Jerry at this point was aware that they weren't going to win.
And so they were just there for the vibes.
They asked us very specifically, I'll help you, but please don't take St. Martin.
Because it would be a 1-dot stab, and that would be sad. And I said, I would never. That's a lie.
We said, don't worry, we're not going to take St. Martin. We just want to get past Ayutthaya.
Lies.
So the moment we get past Ayutthaya...
Yeah, let's go straight to that. So we just put ourselves...
we're in St. Martin.
We're just walking to St. Martin here.
Immediately, yeah.
And we take Maracaibo. This is probably actually one of our best years, because we take St. Martin, we take Puerto Rico, we take Maracaibo, we take Bogota. Our stab with Tehuelche works, and we then they get into Quito, we get into Bogota,
which also crushes Spain's resistance in North America.
We again chilled out with the Dutch. I know I said that we're going to stab them. There's a lot of years when we make peace with the Dutch and then we stab them the next move. You just have to understand that.
We constantly say we're going to make peace with the Dutch, but both of us know that we're not making peace because apparently both sides are stabby bastards.
At this point, I think the next year is when you get the whole Kuzco drama, by the way. Because
This was when we were asked to tap by Danda. From this point onwards, basically every
we're getting asked to tap the unit defending
every season
to tap the unit that's
and we
defending
can't.
Azura, basically.
Yeah.
But apart from that, otherwise, great year for us. We're very happy. Got lots of dots.
It was
We got
really
our
good,
Ayataya buddy. It's good. Going on
is
to winter builds. I think 4 retreats actually is actually just as interesting.
The
We
retreats
see
involves they
Azura pulls out a
disband.
Gulf of Guayaquil. Quito goes to Lima. There's a Spanish.
There's a disband because they didn't have any choice.
Yeah, didn't have a choice. Which was nice for us to see. We got 4 builds there. We were very happy.
Hell yeah.
And that was just
huge.
we just started pumping out units here. This was the last year of play though, which I think we should probably talk about our relationship with Ayataya and the +5s. So
And what's about to happen, yes.
so what's happened at this point is I'll actually just scroll across to show you the leaderboard. These 3 players are in the top. We're in 4th with leapfrogged. I think we're actually equal with Portugal. And we talked to Danda as well as some other players. And Danda goes, "You need to hit +5 this year, and I'll make sure that you basically get into Imperial."
I'll get you into the impunity.
Additionally, we've talked to. There's a group chat that's created where they basically go, "Look, we don't want you to block us from winning." Because
So we're going to help you.
Basically, in Southern Imperial diplomacy, with group and impunity, if there's a player within 35% of the VSCC count, or the Victory Supply Center count, I think that's probably what it's called, then
Like that.
they block them from winning. And so that basically everyone goes, "Cool, yeah, we're all going to work together, right? Right?" Yeah, that doesn't happen, as you'll soon find out. So we basically, there's a big argument here because we know that we're going to stab the Dutch, basically because we have an army advantage over them, even if they have
We know we're going to
Portuguese
send the Dutch,
support.
but we also know about the Italians.
I want to stab Ayataya here, really. I basically go, we can't get +5 guaranteed, while also
Unless we do this.
unless we do this.
Our plan was to stab Ayutthaya in the fall, I believe.
We actually stabbed them spring, I think, actually. Yeah, we stabbed them
Well,
spring.
we
Well,
tried
no.
to stab
Well,
because we were going to do a setup in the spring and then a proper stab at the fall.
No, but then
But
we
they
decided
accepted
we
that
decided
spring.
to do fall. We decided to do spring. I think. I know. If I remember correctly, I think it was Strawberry wanted to do no stab. You wanted fall, and then I wanted spring.
Yes, there was a mess there. Strawberry's no stab was definitely not on the table, though.
Yeah, Strawberry at this point basically didn't really press with the rest of us, and so we just
He was practically subbed out of the game, and I had taken over, which was possibly not an upgrade, but that's fine.
yeah, that's for other people to decide.
It's fine. We had a ratio of press, so
Yeah, we had a ratio press. Yeah, and so I really pushed that. Basically,
he pushed it. I eventually said, as long as the stab has happened in fall, it's fine. Whether we stab in spring or in fall, as long as the stab has happened.
the basic thing was basically we need to take their dots now, or we're never going to get those dots from them. Basically, because they'd been a little bit impressed with Ayataya, they hadn't sounded very like they were willing to
the
work
press
with
with
us.
Ayutthaya was kind of fine. The problem that we were having was their position was just
But
getting
right behind
better
our
and
line.
better at stabbing us.
Yeah.
They were just in the perfect place to stab us, and we were so uncomfortable with that. And on top of their position being perfect to stab us, we had tried to get them to shift their dots rather than just gain them, and they were refusing.
Yeah.
We were trying to get them to give up on Barbados because they don't need it because we're working together, and if they have it, they can just build it. It's a threat to us, so it's just a peace certification, and they were refusing that. There was a lot of red flags that were very subtly being given off here, and also not so subtly being given off, and we kind of had to decide whether or not to look past them, and we were just sort of trying to figure out
And so we
how
decided to
to
stab.
go about this.
If we look at spring moves, let's just go to the east. Ayataya does a full stab onto Huacha here and just full sends east. Nothing really happens in India. Amara Ottomans basically don't really do much really as
No, the Ottomans have
well.
basically won at this point. Like it's
Ottomans are basically just chilling.
they're just waiting for
Portugal was also trying to scramble to get dots. In the North Caribbean,
there's a gigantic mess.
Yeah, we tried to go to Panama to get into Belize. There's a point here. I'm showing it now, but we're just going to skip down here. There's again another fight up here. What's crazy here is that basically we didn't really show this before, but Portugal and Dutch have a lot of fleets that are basically threatening a lot of Tehuelche dots, and so that's causing Tehuelche a lot of problems.
A lot.
A lot of problems. We tap Cuzco here. We also tap Akiri. We support ourselves into Chiquitano because we kind of go. We can just force it.
We can. They can't stop us.
And we force ourselves into the South Sebastio.
Because we have the J tap on Picos.
Yep.
This specific move around here in Balam J Nokugo was something we debated over quite a lot because at this point we're fully aware that Portugal is supporting.
Yeah, Portugal can support whole people, basically.
And we were just thinking, how are we going to get ourselves in there without putting risk or losing things for ourselves? Because we saw the two Portuguese fleets in the mid-Atlantic. There was Sao Sebastião, Picos, and Palmas. There was Bahia and Golas.
Yep.
And we had Marcos, Balam, J, Nokugo, Santorum. Nokugo and Santorum were preoccupied with Chiquitano. So basically we had 3 units. And our thought was, how can we get in here without losing? Because we have to make +5.
Yeah.
This was the moveset we came up with. It just worked out really well, honestly.
Yep.
And we got lucky with the fleets in the ocean.
Yeah, we do some moves here. Panama tries to go to Belize. I do a rotation here. That's basically to give us an option to attack Quito or to cover Japura. Cartagena here probably should have moved, but it wanted to stay there just in case it had to cover dots around here. And we also
it was our first core and our only core.
First and only core we ever did. No, actually, we do a core on Japura for 1 year.
We do, but that fails.
Yeah, this doesn't actually succeed. I think I'm not sure.
This doesn't succeed because the game ends.
Now you'll notice, Ayatollah stabs us at the very same time that we do. Yeah, it wasn't great.
That was a good call by Ayutthaya, all things considered.
100%.
We hadn't expected
call.
them to stab us now, is all. We knew they were going to stab us.
I actually have a there's a message in the void that I just quoted where I said that I think they were going to stab us in fall. Hindsight 2020, it was a move earlier.
Yeah, we knew they were going to stab us. We didn't expect it to be in spring. We thought it would be in fall. What we thought would happen was that we would step into Avis Ridge and into Martinique, and at that point, when we stabbed them in the fall, they wouldn't be in a position to do anything.
St. Kitts would be in St. Bartholomew or Guadalupe. Like, there was lots of places where they
Guadalupe would have been in Mona Passage. St. Kitts ideally would have been in St. Bartholomew, and Avis Ridge would be in.
We would have basically been able to cover all our dots and take.
We would have just crushed them immediately. That was the ideal situation. It was the goal, but they stabbed us at the same time.
And it was a really good stab. Like, don't get me wrong,
it was an
amazing stab.
It was a good call by them.
Yeah,
completely unexpected.
And then I think we could really kind of just skip ahead. I think to 4 moves here.
There wasn't any.
We basically tried to work with them and go, hey, look.
There was an impunity chat.
Chat, as I mentioned before. They went, yeah, we'll try to work this out. I think Ottomans went. I'm fairly sure
Ottomans decided to be a mediator.
When press comes out, there will 100% be another impunity chat that's like, let's just screw it over Kalina, and we're going to find that. And I'm sure there 100% is. I'm actually really looking forward to reading the Ayatollah Void for that note. And yeah, Ayatollah basically doesn't answer for 2 days, and then goes, "Oh, I had IRL stuff going on," which is chill. That's all good.
Our agreement was that Barbados was out.
And then we were basically going to peace out. Let's just kind of finish up with what we got. We get forced. Danda, the Tehuelche player, stabs us. They work with Fireborn, who, they just force themselves into Chiquitano. That sucked. They force themselves into Sao Sebastio. Also a bit of suck. Ayatai just keep stabbing us.
The agreement that we had in the impunity chat was that we would get Barbados and they would get Antigua, I believe.
Yeah.
And they very specifically stopped us from getting Barbados in that. in that
Yeah.
move they made there.
But end of the day, that was
It was
how it
also some meme
played
borders, but
out. Um,
this was where it ended. This is our final
in
map.
terms of the leaderboard, we are in fourth or second equal. I think we're second because the Ayataya, Ottomans, and Tuache we did a surrender vote to them, so we came second. Which
Are we actually second?
yes, we are second.
What the hell?
We're second or like fourth leaderboard. Like it's weird.
We're fourth on the leaderboard, but first, second, and third are shared, so we're technically second.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Oh, that's pretty good for first
In terms
game.
of my thoughts on how the game went, look, we had some highs, we had some lows.
We generally made pretty good calls.
We generally made pretty good calls.
Our early game was really strong, but our diplomacy was
Portuguese play really screwed us.
They were also so annoying that they got muted in all channels except for their own board for a while.
Yes,
it was really
the
funny.
Portuguese press was very irritating.
It was hilarious.
They were
because
trying to rage bait every single person, and it got to a point.
And they stabbed literally everyone at one point and just had to try and damage control themselves. They got muted in every channel except for their own void, which was very funny. Our press with all of our neighbors, we tried as best we could, but they just refused to
Honestly,
talk to
best
us.
press probably the person I most enjoyed press with was probably Spain.
Spain was a really good person.
I love James Spain.
Strawberry sent some memes. We sent some memes. There wasn't much banter with Spain, but it was a very friendly and to the point press, so it was very helpful for us.
To how she played.
Every other press was
like
fun.
In terms of how like the rest of the game played, rest of the board played. Ottoman's best player, at least after McMoney left. The original Portuguese player played really, really well, and you can tell why they are a GM of normal Imp Dip. They're one of the mods. They are really strong at Imperial diplomacy, really strong at diplomacy in general, and they played really, really strongly. I think they might have been the only person to hit over 100% of their
the SEC.
Yeah, Ayataya played really strongly. They were sort of our blocker. I think if we had won better at the start, or if some stuff, or we worked together early and stabbed them earlier, things could have gone better.
In the winners, yeah.
But
their ability to hold the Martinique, Tobago, Barbados area basically screwed us out of a win.
Yeah,
that was very impressive.
Yeah, both them and Tuhualche both played really well in terms of slowing us down. There
was also the joke about how Tuhualche got buffed, and then the guy who buffed it played Tuhualche. But
yeah, let's move past the fact that the developer of the game played the recently buffed power. But I think really both Tuhualche and Ayataya both played a really well long game and just containing us
really good by that,
in terms of just keeping us contained. Because I think if
I didn't expect that we would be the one that people would be trying to contain.
Yeah, if Spain and Dutch had both collapsed,
we would have
100% been probably up there. But obviously, maybe that Natal retreat was really the worst misplay we did the entire game. Possibly.
Maybe.
Probably.
I mean, I didn't realize we were doing so well because it felt so bad the entire time we were playing it.
There were some really good years and some really bad years. I really enjoyed playing it. Really big, also great big shout out to the English player Cherry. Your moves made no sense, but you whenever we asked you to do something, you did it for us, and can't complain about that.
That was pretty cool of you. All things considered.
All things considered.
We might laugh at what happened, but you got a second place, sort of. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Cherry. And of course,
you won.
Massive shout out, I think, to our spectators.
All 13 of them.
All 13 of them. Okay, to be fair, about probably 3 of them were active. But yeah, really enjoyed our spectators. Really enjoyed our void. I hope everyone who watches us, who's actually in the server, gives it a read. It's 6,000 messages, I think, just in our void alone.
We had more messages in our void alone than the entirety of the public channels.
Yep. So
by 50%.
We had a lot of chats going on there, which is then funny because we're recording this in our voice chat in our actual void. So there was actually probably a lot of stuff that's actually missed from the void.
We couldn't cover the void, honestly. We can't cover the void. I think in specifically the Kalina void, there is currently 6,000 messages.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a lot to cover, and then we haven't really even talked about mini dip as well. Do you want to talk about mini dip?
We can do that separately if you want.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Yeah, maybe I'll get Strawberry to do a cover of
Because
mini
he
dip.
was Story was the GM. The mini dip game had 3 of our spectators, you, me, and then the GM was Strawberry.
Yeah, and we played like a little mini southern like South American game basically.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun. In terms of I was really happy with how the game played. Of course, massive credit to Dander for the variant and for actually someone who actually does not get a lot of credit, Chonk, our GM.
Chonk was suffering immensely, and every
I
time
think Chonk got hit by a car at one point. Like
he did. No, he got hit by a bus. Actually, it was even worse.
Like
he was getting PTSD because whenever a ping would turn up in the Kalina void, it would be Chonk. Can we get a spec? Or some sort of horrific. Hey, Chonk, we need a new thread. We need a new channel. We need this. I need permissions to do that.
But generally, Chonk was very long suffering and actually helped us get the game through to where we got it to, and that. Yeah,
I don't think the game would have gotten as far as it did if Chonk hadn't persevered. So that was very cool.
Yeah, thank you, Chonk. And yeah, I mean, we Fireborn. Once again, we tried to work with you, buddy.
Who were the people we tried to work with? Just a final list. So we tried to work with Dander. We kind of screwed that over ourselves.
Yeah.
We tried to work with Portugal. That just didn't happen. We tried to work with the Netherlands. That didn't happen. We never got to work with Amara.
Well, we did. We actually did try. We actually did try, but then they kind of went. We have to check everything.
Oh yeah, we did try.
They unironically told me they had to check everything with Portugal first, and then I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, that's why. So Amara was one. Spain, we tried.
Kind of worked. We kind of didn't. We were frenemies.
Yeah. Ayutthaya, we tried to work with Ayutthaya. France, we tried to work with. England, we tried to work with. England, we did.
Imagine if England had. I mean, there was a point though where I was kind of like, England's winning too well. I hope they start losing.
There was no point England was winning.
Yeah, it was about the point where Portugal and England were working together.
Oh right.
When Fireborn, when the Dutch player was losing, and that was a point where I was a bit worried about how far south England was going. I mean, we didn't really try to work with Ottomans except for like impunity reasons.
Well, yeah, we couldn't really because we didn't have any way to work with them. Mughals, I wanted to be strong so we could have some sort of an alliance, but that was a pipe dream wishing for the Mughals to be
Mughals
strong.
did end up surviving though. Credit, Mughals did end up.
I mean, surviving on 1 dot, yes, but I think they got a buff in V4, and I don't think it saved them there either.
It actually is working quite well for them. I can tell you that.
Is it? Yeah. I'll have to have another look. But yep, that's overall the scope of things. That's how things went down.
V3B Kalina. Woo.